Me and my crew of the Velvet Underworld channels would really love to hear how things are going on at your place. Or you could share it to the comment sections so that we could connect with each other. Uh, we would love to build a community of people who love touching stories about mafia bosses. Now, let's enjoy today's stories, shall we?
When a battered woman's desperate cry for help reached the wrong number, she didn't know she'd just texted the most dangerous man in Philadelphia. With broken ribs and a dying phone, Lena Ward sent what she thought was her final message to her brother. But one wrong digit changed everything. The text landed on Victor Vale's phone, a crime boss who ruled the city's underworld without mercy. What began as a misdial became the collision of two worlds, a woman fighting to survive and a man who'd forgotten what it meant to save someone. Stay until the end to see how this story unfolds. Hit that like button and comment your city so I can see how far this story travels. The Philadelphia winter cut like broken glass. Lena Ward lay on the floor of apartment 4B, each breath a fresh knife through her chest. The ribs on her left side had given way an hour ago. She'd heard them crack beneath Ethan's fist, felt something fundamental break inside her body. Now every shallow gasp brought white-hot pain that made her vision swim. The apartment was dark. Ethan had locked her in before leaving, same as always. The deadbolt he'd installed 6 months ago only opened from the outside. For your safety, he'd said, so nobody can get in while I'm at work. She'd believed him once. Her phone lay 3 feet away where it had skidded when she'd tried to crawl toward the kitchen. The screen showed 3% battery. Her fingers were numb. Whether from cold or shock, she couldn't tell anymore. The heating had been off for 2 days. Another punishment, another lesson. Lena dragged herself forward, her fingernails catching on the cheap laminate flooring. The pain in her ribs screamed. She tasted copper. Just get to the phone. Just send the message. Her brother Marcus would come. He always said he would, if she ever really needed him. She'd been too proud to ask before, too ashamed to admit what her life had become. But pride didn't matter anymore. Shame didn't matter. Only survival. Her fingers closed around the phone. The screen lit up, harsh and bright. She squinted at the contacts, found Marcus's name, tried to focus through the tears and the pain and the way the edges of her vision kept going soft. She typed with shaking hands. He broke my ribs, can't breathe. Apartment 4B, door locked, send. The phone died in her hand, screen going black. Lena let her head rest against the floor. The laminate was so cold it almost felt good against her feverish skin. She'd done what she could. Either Marcus would come or he wouldn't. Either way, she'd fought until she had nothing left. She closed her eyes. She didn't see the mistake. Didn't know that in her desperation, her thumb had slipped, that she'd selected the wrong contact, that her message for help hadn't reached her brother at all. And 3 miles across the city, in a penthouse that overlooked the Schuylkill River, Victor Vale stood at his window and watched Philadelphia glitter in the December dark. He was 34 years old and owned half the city. The parts that mattered, anyway. The docks, the distribution networks, the politicians who stayed bought, the judges who understood that justice was negotiable. He'd built his empire methodically over 12 years, brick by bloody brick, until his name alone made men nervous. People called him the Phantom. He preferred it that way. Let them think he was a ghost, a rumor, a shadow that only appeared when someone needed to disappear. His phone buzzed. Victor glanced at the screen expecting business. It was always business. At 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday, someone always needed something. A problem solved, a rival handled, a shipment rerouted. But the message was from an unknown number. He broke my ribs. Can't breathe. Apartment 4B, door locked. Victor read it twice. Most men would have deleted it. Wrong number, not their problem. The city was full of desperate people sending desperate messages. You couldn't save them all. You couldn't save any of them, really. You could only save yourself. But Victor had built his empire on information, on reading between the lines, on understanding what people didn't say. This message, 4 short sentences, told him everything. He broke my ribs. Violence, intimate and deliberate. Can't breathe. Medical emergency, possibly life-threatening. Apartment 4B. Specific location. She wanted to be found. Door locked. Trapped. Unable to escape. And the fact that she'd texted instead of calling 911 told him something else. Whoever had hurt her had power. Maybe a cop. Maybe someone connected. Someone who'd make sure the authorities didn't respond or didn't respond in time. Victor's jaw tightened. He told himself it wasn't his concern. He'd left that kind of heroism behind years ago, back when he still believed the world could be fixed. He knew better now. The world was broken, and you either learned to profit from the fractures or you got crushed beneath them. He looked at the message again. Can't breathe. Fuck, he said quietly. He called Roman, his head of security. The phone rang once. Yeah, boss. I need an address traced. Unknown number. Send me the location in 5 minutes. On it. Victor ended the call and moved away from the window. He pulled on a black coat, checked the Glock holstered at his hip. He didn't know why he was doing this. Didn't know why this particular message from this particular stranger had gotten under his skin. Maybe because the words reminded him of someone else. A different locked door. A different woman who'd needed help that never came. His phone buzzed. Roman had sent coordinates and an address. 2847 Allegheny Avenue, apartment 4B. Victor memorized it, grabbed his keys, and headed for the elevator. Behind him, the city glittered like broken promises. Chiton. The building on Allegheny Avenue was exactly what he'd expected. 4 stories of crumbling brick, windows covered with bars, graffiti tags layered so thick they'd become abstract art. The kind of place where people minded their business because asking questions got you hurt. Victor parked his black Mercedes across the street. 2 of his men pulled up 30 seconds later in an unmarked SUV. Roman and Cade, both armed, both trained to follow orders without questions. 4th floor, Victor said. Apartment 4B, doors locked. Someone inside needs medical attention. Roman raised an eyebrow. Boss, you want to tell us what we're walking into? No idea, Victor admitted. Stay sharp. They entered through the building's broken security door. The lobby smelled like mold and old cigarettes. The elevator had an out-of-order sign that looked permanent, so they took the stairs. 4th floor. The hallway was dim. Half the lights burned out. Victor found 4B and knocked once, hard. Philadelphia Fire Department. Open up. No answer. He tried the handle. Locked, as expected. Cade, Victor said. Cade stepped forward with a small pry bar. The door was cheap, builder grade, barely better than cardboard. 2 sharp cracks in the lock gave way. The door swung open. The apartment was freezing. Victor stepped inside, his hand near his weapon, eyes adjusting to the darkness. He could hear something, shallow, labored breathing. Lights, he ordered. Roman found a switch. A single overhead bulb flickered on. That's when Victor saw her. She was lying near the kitchen entrance, curled on her side like she'd fallen there and lacked the strength to move. Mid-20s, dark hair matted with sweat, face bruised badly enough that one eye had swollen shut. She wore a thin sweater and jeans, both smeared with what looked like dried blood. She was shaking, from cold or shock, probably both. Victor crossed the room in 3 strides and knelt beside her. Up close, the damage was worse. Split lip, finger-shaped bruises on her throat. And the way she was breathing, sharp, shallow gasps, confirmed what the message had said. Broken ribs. Hey, he said quietly. Can you hear me? Her good eye opened slightly. She looked at him without recognition, without hope, just exhausted acceptance. Help, she whispered. The word came out broken. I'm here, Victor said. You're going to be okay. He didn't know if that was true, but he said it anyway. He slipped one arm beneath her shoulders, the other under her knees, and lifted her as carefully as he could. She made a small sound of pain that cut right through him. Roman, get the car running. Cade, sweep the place. I want to know who did this. As he carried her toward the door, he heard footsteps in the hallway. Heavy, confident. A man appeared in the doorway, mid-30s, expensive suit, law school haircut. He looked at Victor, at the woman in his arms, and his expression went from surprise to fury in half a second. What the hell do you think you're doing? The man's voice was sharp, authoritative, the kind of voice used to being obeyed. Put her down, now. Victor stopped walking, looked at him properly. The man was tall, well-built, clearly someone who worked out. His suit probably cost $3,000. His shoes were Italian leather. Everything about him screamed money and privilege. Everything except his knuckles, which were scraped raw. "You must be the boyfriend," Victor said calmly. "I'm her fiancé, Ethan Calder, and you're trespassing." Ethan stepped into the apartment like he owned it, which, Victor supposed, he probably did. "I don't know what she told you, but she's confused. She fell. It was an accident." "Right," Victor said. "She fell and gave herself 2 black eyes and a split lip. She's unstable. She hurts herself for attention. Ask anyone. Ask her therapist. She's been diagnosed with—" "Shut up," Victor said quietly. Ethan's face flushed red. "Do you have any idea who I am? I'm a partner at Reinhardt and Hayes. I have the district attorney on speed dial. I'll have you arrested for breaking and entering before you make it to your car." "Interesting threat," Victor said. "Here's mine. Get out of my way or I'll break every bone in your body and leave you on this floor to think about your choices." For a moment, Ethan seemed to be calculating his options. He looked at Victor, really looked, and something in his expression changed. Recognition, maybe, or just the survival instinct that came with realizing you'd misjudged an opponent. "You have no authority here," Ethan said, but his voice had lost its edge. "I have all the authority I need," Victor replied. Roman stepped into the apartment behind Ethan. 6'4", 250 pounds of concentrated violence. He didn't say anything, didn't have to. Ethan held up his hands. "Fine, take her, but she'll come back. She always comes back." Victor walked past him into the hallway. Behind him, he heard Cade say something low and threatening, heard Ethan start to protest, and then go abruptly silent. They took the stairs quickly. Lena's breathing was getting worse, shorter, shallower. Her face had gone pale. "Stay with me," Victor said. "Don't quit now." They reached the Mercedes. Roman had the back door open. Victor laid her across the seat as gently as he could, then climbed in beside her. "Where to, boss?" Roman asked from the driver's seat. "Safe house, north side, and call Dr. Reeves. Tell him to be there in 20 minutes. The car pulled away from the curb, tires hissing on the wet asphalt. Victor looked down at the woman he'd just pulled from hell. She was unconscious now, her breathing ragged. Blood had seeped through her sweater. He didn't know her name, didn't know her story, didn't know why he'd come when any rational person would have ignored that text. But watching her fight for each breath, he knew one thing with absolute certainty. Whoever had done this to her had just made the worst mistake of his life. Mount. The safe house was a renovated brownstone in a quiet neighborhood where Victor's men kept a rotation of 3 guards at all times. It looked like any other well-maintained home on the block, which was exactly the point. Dr. Reeves was waiting when they arrived, a silver-haired man in his 60s who'd spent 30 years as a trauma surgeon before deciding he preferred Victor's money to the hospital's bureaucracy. They carried Lena inside and laid her on the bed in the first-floor bedroom. "Doctor." Reeves immediately began his examination, his hands moving with practiced efficiency. "Talk to me," Victor said. 3 broken ribs, left side, possible punctured lung, though I won't know until I get imaging. Severe bruising to the face and neck. Signs of strangulation. See these petechiae around her eyes? He pointed to tiny broken blood vessels. She's lucky to be alive. Can you treat her here? For now. But if that lung's compromised, she'll need a hospital. No hospitals, Victor said. Hospitals mean police reports. Police reports mean she goes back into the system. And the system clearly didn't protect her the first time. Dr. Reeves gave him a long look. You know what you're doing? Never, Victor admitted. But I'm doing it anyway. He left the doctor to work and walked into the kitchen, where Roman was making coffee. Cade found some interesting things in that apartment, Roman said, pouring 2 cups. Financial documents, offshore account statements, all in her name. Victor took the coffee. How much? Rough estimate? 40 million. Victor went still. 40 million. In her name? Yeah, and get this, the boyfriend, Ethan Calder, he's not just some lawyer, he's counsel for the Donovan Syndicate, handles their money laundering, their legal protection, all of it. The Donovan Syndicate, one of the biggest criminal organizations on the East Coast, run by a man named Sean Donovan, who'd been trying to expand into Victor's territory for years. So Calder's been moving syndicate money through accounts in his girlfriend's name, Victor said slowly, using her as a firewall. If it goes wrong, she takes the fall, not him. That's what it looks like. And now we've got her. Victor set down his coffee. We didn't take her. We saved her. Sure, boss. But Calder doesn't know that. And neither does Donovan. All they know is that their money pipeline just disappeared into your hands. Victor rubbed his face. He'd thought he was rescuing one woman from an abusive relationship. Turned out he'd just stolen $40 million from a rival syndicate. This is going to get complicated, he said. When isn't it? Roman replied. Lena woke slowly, consciousness returning in fragments. Soft sheets. Warm room. Pain in her ribs that felt distant, manageable, like someone had wrapped it in cotton. She opened her eyes. Unfamiliar ceiling, unfamiliar room, morning light filtering through gauze curtains. Panic spiked through her chest. She tried to sit up and immediately regretted it as pain flared along her left side. Easy. A man's voice, calm and low. You've got broken ribs. Don't make them worse. Lena turned her head. A man sat in an armchair near the window. Dark hair, sharp features, expensive clothes. Handsome in a dangerous way, like a knife that had been polished until it gleamed. She didn't recognize him. Who are you? Her voice came out raspy. Where am I? My name's Victor. You're safe. That's all you need to know right now. Memory came back in a rush. The apartment, Ethan's fists, the message she'd sent to Marcus, the phone dying in her hand. My brother, she said. Did Marcus? You didn't text your brother, Victor said. You texted me. Wrong number. Lena stared at him. I don't understand. Neither did I, but you asked for help, so I came. She tried to process that. A stranger had received her message and come anyway, had broken down the door, carried her out, brought her here, wherever here was. Ethan, she said. Did he? He's alive, if that's what you're asking, for now. The way he said it made something cold move through her stomach. This man, Victor, wasn't a good Samaritan, wasn't a paramedic or a social worker. There was violence in him, carefully controlled but unmistakable. I need to leave, Lena said. I need to get back before he what? Breaks more of your ribs? Finishes what he started? Victor leaned forward slightly. You're not going back there. Not today, not ever. You don't understand, Ethan. He's connected. He'll find me. And when he does, let him find you, Victor said. His voice was flat, certain. I'd like to have that conversation. Lena looked at him properly for the first time. Really looked. And understood that whatever Ethan was, whatever power he thought he had, this man didn't care. Who are you? She asked again. Someone who made a mistake, Victor said. I thought I was just pulling a woman out of a bad situation. Turns out I walked into something much bigger. He stood, moved to the window. Your boyfriend, Ethan Calder. He's been using you, using your identity to move money for some very dangerous people. $40 million in accounts with your name on them. The words didn't make sense. That's not possible. I don't have any. You do now. He opened them without your knowledge. Social security number, forged signatures, the whole thing. Victor turned to look at her. Which means you're the only person who can access those accounts. And that makes you very valuable to some very bad people. Lena's chest tightened. I don't know anything about any accounts. I work at a hospital. I'm a nurse. I barely have $500 in savings. I believe you, Victor said. But they won't. The syndicate Ethan works for. They're going to want their money. And they're going to come looking for it. Then give it to them, Lena said desperately. I don't want it. I don't want any of this. It's not that simple. The money is scattered across a dozen countries, locked behind security protocols that require your biometrics. Even if we wanted to hand it over, we couldn't. He moved back to the chair, sat down. So here's the situation. You're stuck with me until we figure out how to navigate this, and they're stuck wanting something they can't have. Lena closed her eyes. This couldn't be happening. She'd sent one message, one desperate, wrong number message, and now she was tangled in money laundering and criminal syndicates and a strange man who talked about violence like it was weather. I want to go home, she whispered. You don't have a home anymore, Victor said, not unkindly. That apartment? Calder's apartment. Your job? He'll have called them by now, told them you had a breakdown, that you're unstable. Everything you had, he controlled. That was the point. He paused. But you're out now, and I'm not putting you back in a cage. Lena opened her eyes, looked at him. Why are you helping me? Victor was quiet for a moment. Because you asked, he finally said, and because nobody helped me when I needed it. He stood. Get some rest. Doctor says you'll be okay, but you need time to heal. We'll figure out the rest later. He walked to the door. Victor, Lena said. He turned. Thank you, she said quietly, for coming. So something shifted in his expression, just for a second, so quick she almost missed it. Surprise, maybe, or recognition. Get some sleep, he said, and left. Jeez. For 3 days, Lena stayed in the bedroom of the safe house, healing. Dr. Reeves came twice a day to check her vitals, change her bandages, monitor her breathing. The broken ribs were painful but clean. They'd heal on their own with rest and time. The bruises were already starting to fade from purple to yellow-green. She had visitors. Roman, the massive man who seemed to be Victor's right hand, brought her meals and spoke to her in a surprisingly gentle voice. A woman named Iris, sharp-eyed and efficient, brought clothes that actually fit. Cade, quiet and watchful, changed the guards outside her door every 8 hours. And Victor came every evening, sitting in the armchair by the window, asking how she felt. They didn't talk about Ethan, didn't talk about the money. Mostly, they didn't talk at all. Victor seemed content to sit in silence, reading reports on his phone while Lena drifted in and out of sleep. But on the third night, Lena finally asked the question that had been building in her chest. What happens next? Victor looked up from his phone. Next? When I'm healed, when I can leave. What happens then? That depends, Victor said. What do you want to happen? I want my life back, Lena said. I want to go to work, see my brother. Pretend the last 3 years with Ethan never happened. That's not possible anymore. Why not? Because Ethan knows you're gone. And the people he works for know you're gone. And they're not going to just let you walk away from $40 million. Victor set his phone aside. Right now they think I took you, that I'm using you to leverage their money, which, to be fair, I could. But that's not what's happening here. Then what is happening? Lena asked. Victor was quiet for a moment, considering. I'm trying to figure out how to keep you alive, he finally said. Because if I send you back into the world, they'll find you in a week. And when they do, they'll torture you until you give them access to those accounts, and then they'll kill you to cover their tracks. The words were brutal, clinical, but Lena could hear the truth in them. So I'm a prisoner, she said quietly. You're protected, Victor corrected. There's a difference. Is there? Yes. His voice was firm. A prisoner has no choice. You do. You can leave right now if you want. I'll give you cash, a car, a fake ID. You can disappear. But you need to understand what that means. Running for the rest of your life, always looking over your shoulder, never staying anywhere long enough to build something real. Lena looked at him. And if I stay? If you stay, we find a solution. We figure out how to get you clear of this. And then you get to decide what kind of life you want. You make it sound simple. It's not, Victor admitted. It's going to be dangerous. People are going to get hurt. But at the end of it, you'll be free. Really free. Not just surviving, but living. Lena thought about that. About the difference between survival and living. She'd been surviving for 3 years with Ethan, every day just about making it to the next one, about not triggering his anger, about becoming small and quiet and invisible. She was so tired of being invisible. Okay, she said. I'll stay. Victor nodded. Then we start planning. Planning what? How to take apart Ethan Calder's entire life, Victor said, and how to make sure the syndicate he works for never comes looking for you again. For the first time in days, Lena felt something other than fear. She felt anger. And beneath that, deeper and sharper, hope. The next morning, Victor brought her coffee and a laptop. You said you're a nurse, he said, setting both on the small table beside her bed. That means you're smart, detail-oriented, good under pressure. I need all three right now. Lena sat up carefully, her ribs protesting but manageable. What are you asking me to do? Help me understand what we're dealing with. Victor pulled the chair closer. Ethan opened these accounts in your name. That means somewhere there's a paper trail, documents you supposedly signed, security questions you supposedly answered. I need you to look at everything Cade pulled from your apartment and tell me what's real and what's forged. He opened the laptop, and Lena found herself staring at scanned images of her own signature, dozens of them, on bank forms and corporate documents and legal papers she'd never seen before. Each one looked perfect, identical to how she actually signed her name. How did he... She trailed off, but she already knew. 3 years of signing birthday cards he'd give to his colleagues, anniversary documents for the firm, permission slips for the charity events he'd dragged her to. She'd signed her name hundreds of times without thinking, never imagining he was studying the pattern, practicing it, perfecting it. He was building this from the beginning, Victor said quietly. Everything he did, every move he made, it was all preparation. Lena scrolled through the documents, her stomach turning. Accounts in the Cayman Islands, shell corporations in Delaware, wire transfers moving through Singapore, Switzerland, Cyprus, and her name on every single page, her social security number, her birth date, even her mother's maiden name for security questions. This one, she said, pointing to a transfer authorization dated 6 months ago. I was working a double shift that day. I didn't leave the hospital for 16 hours. There's no way I could have been at a notary's office in Manhattan. Victor leaned forward. Can you prove that? My employee records. Time cards. The hospital keeps everything digital. Good. What else? They spent the next 2 hours going through documents. Lena found discrepancies everywhere. Dates when she'd been at work, signatures on papers requiring witnesses she'd never met, accounts opened in cities she'd never visited. Each discovery felt like peeling back another layer of Ethan's deception, revealing just how thoroughly he'd colonized her identity. He needed me invisible, Lena said finally, pushing the laptop away. That's why he isolated me from my friends, from Marcus. Why he convinced me I was unstable, that I needed him. If I didn't exist to anyone else, no one would question these documents. No one would ask if I'd really opened an account in Luxembourg or signed papers in Monaco. And if something went wrong, Victor added, you'd be the one holding the bag. The authorities would find a nurse with documented mental health issues, his documentation, of course, who'd somehow gotten involved in international money laundering. You'd go to prison while he walked away clean. The cruelty of it stole her breath. She'd loved Ethan once, or thought she had believed his concern was protection, his control was care, and all along he'd been building her cage from paperwork and lies. I want to destroy him, she said quietly. Victor studied her face. Are you sure? Because once we start down this path, there's no going back. Ethan's connected to powerful people. Taking him down means going to war with the Donovan Syndicate. People will die. Good, Lena said and meant it. Let them. Something shifted in Victor's expression. Approval, maybe, or recognition. All right then. Let's talk strategy. He stood and walked to the window, looking out at the quiet street beyond. The syndicate's money is scattered across 12 countries in accounts with your biometric locks. Fingerprints, retinal scans, voice authentication. That's why they can't access it without you, and why Ethan can't just kill you and move on. You're the key to $40 million. So what do? We make them think the key is broken, Victor said. We convince them the money's gone, untouchable, that keeping you alive is pointless. How? We steal it first. Lena stared at him. You want to steal $40 million from a criminal syndicate? I want you to steal it, Victor corrected. It's your money, legally speaking, your name, your accounts, your biometrics. You have every right to access it. And once it's moved somewhere they can't reach, you have leverage. Leverage for what? For your freedom, for your brother's safety, for making sure that when this is over, they have no reason to ever come looking for you again. He turned to face her. But it's going to require you to trust me, and I know that's asking a lot considering the last man you trusted tried to kill you. Lena looked at this stranger who'd broken down her door, who'd carried her out of hell, who was now proposing they rob a criminal empire together. She should be terrified, should be demanding he take her to the police, to the FBI, to anyone official and safe. But she'd tried safe. Safe had gotten her locked in an apartment with broken ribs. "What do you need me to do?" she asked. Victor smiled, a sharp, predatory expression that should have frightened her, but somehow didn't. "First," he said, "we need to find your brother." I'm nuts. Marcus Ward lived in a small apartment in South Philadelphia, working construction and playing guitar in a cover band on weekends. Lena hadn't seen him in 8 months. Ethan had convinced her that Marcus was a bad influence, that his lifestyle was chaotic and unhealthy, that she needed distance from his negativity. She'd believed that too once. Now, sitting in the back of Victor's Mercedes as they pulled up to Marcus's building, Lena felt 3 years of stolen time pressing against her chest. "You don't have to do this now," Victor said. "We can wait until you're stronger." "No." Lena unbuckled her seatbelt. "He needs to know I'm okay, that I got out." "Want me to come with you?" She almost said yes, but this conversation needed to happen without bodyguards, without the weight of Victor's dangerous presence. "Give me 20 minutes, she said. She walked into the building alone, her ribs aching with each step up to the 3rd floor. Apartment 3C. She knocked, heard movement inside, heard her brother's voice call out, "Yeah, hold on." The door opened. Marcus stood there in sweatpants and an old Phillies t-shirt, beer in hand, and the expression on his face went from casual to shocked to devastated in the span of a heartbeat. "Lena?" He stared at her face, at the fading bruises, at the way she held herself like something fragile. "Jesus Christ, what happened to—" "Can I come in?" she asked quietly. He stepped back, pulling the door wide. The apartment was small but clean, smelling like pizza and motor oil. Marcus set his beer down with shaking hands. "Who did this to you?" His voice was rough. "Was it Ethan? I swear to God, I'll kill him. I'll fucking kill him." "Get in line," Lena said, and sat carefully on his couch. It took 30 minutes to tell him everything. Not the money, not the syndicate. She wasn't ready to explain that labyrinth yet. Just the basics. Ethan's violence. The locked apartment. The desperate message she'd tried to send. "You texted me?" Marcus asked. "When? I never got—" "Wrong number," Lena said. "I meant to text you, but I hit the wrong contact. It went to someone else." "Who?" "Someone who helped. Someone who got me out." Marcus ran his hands through his hair, pacing now. "I should have known. Should have pushed harder when you started canceling plans. When you stopped answering calls. I knew something was wrong, but I thought you just didn't want me around anymore." "That's what he wanted you to think," Lena said. "He was good at making me disappear." "Where are you staying now? Are you safe?" "I'm with the man who helped me, Victor. He has resources, protection. I'm safe there." Marcus stopped pacing. "Victor who? What kind of resources?" Lena hesitated. "How did you tell your brother you were living with a crime boss? That you'd accidentally stumbled into a war between criminal empires? That the man protecting you was probably more dangerous than the man you'd escaped?" "The kind that keeps Ethan from finding me," she said carefully. "That's all you need to know right now." "Lena, Marcus, listen to me." She stood, crossed to him, took his hands. "I need you to trust that I'm okay, that I'm figuring this out, but I also need you to be careful. Ethan might try to use you to get to me. If he contacts you, if anyone contacts you asking about me, you don't know anything. You haven't seen me, okay? You're scaring me. Good. Be scared. Be careful. And don't try to find me. I'll reach out when it's safe." She hugged him then, felt him hold her like she was made of glass, like she might shatter. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I'm so sorry I didn't save you." "You couldn't have," Lena said. "But I saved myself, and that's enough." When she left his apartment 20 minutes later, she felt lighter somehow, like she'd reclaimed a small piece of herself that Ethan had tried to erase. Victor was waiting in the car, reading something on his phone. He looked up when she slid into the back seat. "How'd it go?" "He's worried, angry, wants to kill Ethan." "Smart man," Victor said. "We should all want to kill Ethan." Despite everything, Lena almost smiled. That night, Victor brought her into his war room. It was a converted dining room in the safe house, Walls covered with maps and photographs and pinned documents connected by red string like something from a detective show. Except this wasn't fiction. These were real criminal networks, real money flows, real people who'd killed for less than what they were planning. Roman was there, along with Cade and two other men Lena didn't recognize. And Iris, the sharp-eyed woman who'd brought her clothes, sitting at a laptop with the focused intensity of a surgeon. "Everyone, this is Lena Ward," Victor said. "She's the key to the Donovan accounts, and she's agreed to help us take them apart. Lena, this is my core team. You can trust them with your life." Lena nodded at the assembled group, feeling suddenly out of her depth. These were professionals. Criminals, yes, but professionals at what they did. And she was just a nurse who'd sent the wrong text message. "All right," Victor said, moving to the map of financial networks. "Here's what we know. Sean Donovan runs the syndicate through legitimate fronts, construction companies, shipping firms, real estate holdings. But the real money comes from trafficking, extortion, and moving product up the East Coast. Ethan Calder handles the legal side, making dirty money look clean." He pointed to a photograph of Ethan, one clearly taken without his knowledge. He was standing outside his law firm, talking on his phone, looking every inch the successful attorney. Lena felt her chest tighten looking at him. "Over the past 3 years," Victor continued, "Ethan's moved approximately $40 million through accounts in Lena's name. The money's split across 12 jurisdictions, each with different banking laws and security protocols. To access them, we need Lena's biometrics and the account passwords." "Which I don't have," Lena said. "Which Ethan has," Iris corrected, looking up from her laptop. "I've been digging into his digital footprint. He keeps everything encrypted, but he's also paranoid about losing access. That means backups, physical backups." "Where?" Victor asked. "His office at the law firm. Reinhardt and Hayes keeps a server room on the 18th floor, partner-level access only. If Ethan's storing anything he can't risk losing, it'll be there." Victor nodded slowly. "So we need to break into a major law firm, crack their server security, and pull Ethan's files. In a building that probably has more cameras than a casino." "Probably more," Iris agreed cheerfully. "Can it be done?" Lena asked. "Everything can be done," Roman rumbled. "Question is whether the cost is worth it." "It's worth it," Victor said firmly. "Lena needs those passwords to access the accounts. Once we have them, we can move the money somewhere Donovan can't reach. And once the money's gone, they have no reason to keep hunting her." "Except revenge," Cade pointed out. "Revenge requires knowing who to blame," Victor said. "If we do this right, they'll think the money disappeared because of Ethan's incompetence. Let them kill each other while we get Lena clear." He turned to look at her. "But I need to know you're committed. Once we start this, we can't stop halfway. It's all or nothing." Lena thought about Ethan's hands around her throat, thought about waking up on that freezing floor, alone and broken. Thought about 3 years of being invisible while he built his empire on her stolen identity. "I'm committed," she said. "Then we hit the law firm tomorrow night," Victor said. "Iris, I need building plans and security protocols. Roman, get me a team that can move fast and quiet. Cade, find us an exit strategy that doesn't involve police sirens." The team dispersed to their tasks, moving with the practiced efficiency of people who'd done this kind of thing before. Lena stayed by the map, staring at the web of connections. Somewhere in this maze was her path to freedom. She just had to trust that Victor could navigate it. "Second thoughts?" Victor asked quietly, coming to stand beside her. "A million of them," Lena admitted. "But I'm not backing down." "Good. Because I'm going to need you tomorrow night." "Need me how? I'm not exactly trained for breaking and entering." "No, but you are trained to stay calm under pressure, to make quick decisions when lives are on the line." He glanced at her. "That's what nursing is, isn't it? Controlled chaos." "It is," Lena said, "but the stakes are usually different." "Are they?" Victor asked. "Someone's dying either way. The only difference is who." It was a dark way to look at it. But standing in this room full of criminal strategy, Lena couldn't argue with the logic. They spent the next day preparing. Iris showed Lena the building plans for Reinhardt and Hayes, 42 floors of steel and glass in Center City, housing 300 attorneys and their support staff. The 18th floor was executive territory, with biometric locks on the server room and 24-hour security patrols. Guards rotate every 4 hours, Iris explained, highlighting patrol routes on the digital blueprint. But there's a 7-minute gap between shifts when the outgoing team logs their report and the incoming team starts their sweep. That's our window. 7 minutes to get in, find Ethan's files, and get out? Lena asked. 7 minutes to get past the door. The actual extraction will take longer, but once we're inside the server room, we can lock it down and buy ourselves time. How do we get past the biometric locks? Iris smiled. That's where you come in. She pulled up security footage from the law firm's lobby. Dozens of attorneys coming and going, swiping ID badges, pressing their hands to palm scanners. Ethan has access, Iris said, which means his palm print is in the system. And you were his fiancée for 3 years. Did you ever go to his office? Twice, Lena said, remembering. He brought me to a holiday party last December. And once before that, maybe 18 months ago, for some firm event. Did you sign in? Use any security systems? Lena tried to remember. The details were fuzzy, overshadowed by Ethan's constant presence, his hand on her back, guiding her, controlling her. I signed a visitor log, she said slowly, and they took my photo for a temporary badge. Perfect. That means you're in their system, and if you're in their system, we can get you back in, Iris typed rapidly, pulling up databases. We just need to reactivate your visitor credentials and upgrade them to partner-level access. Can you do that? I can do anything, Iris said, without arrogance. Just fact. While Iris worked on the digital side, Roman walked Lena through the physical plan. They'd go in through the parking garage, less visible than the lobby, fewer cameras. A maintenance elevator would take them to the 18th floor. From there, it was 50 feet of hallway to the server room. Stay close to me, Roman said. Don't run unless I run. Don't talk unless I talk. And if something goes wrong, you do exactly what I say when I say it. Understood? Understood, Lena said. She spent the afternoon in the safe house gym, testing her ribs, rebuilding the strength that 3 days of bed rest had stolen. Dr. Reeves watched her with disapproval. You should be resting, he said. I'll rest when this is over, Lena replied and kept moving. That evening, Victor found her on the back porch, watching the sun set over Philadelphia. The sky was burning orange and red, beautiful and violent. You don't have to come tomorrow, he said. I can have Iris spoof your credentials. You could stay here, stay safe. We both know I'm not safe anywhere, Lena said. Not until this is finished. Victor nodded. Fair point. They stood in silence for a moment, watching the city lights begin to flicker on. Can I ask you something? Lena said. Go ahead. Why do you do this? Run a criminal empire, I mean. You're smart enough to do anything else. You could have been legitimate. Victor was quiet for a long time. When he finally spoke, his voice was distant, like he was looking at something far away. When I was 17, my father worked for a man named Castellano, Italian mob, old school. My father was a driver, nothing important, but he saw something he shouldn't have, a murder, a police commissioner's murder. Castellano couldn't let that stand. He paused, and Lena waited, knowing this story had a dark ending. They killed my parents on a Tuesday, made it look like a robbery. I was at school when it happened. Came home to crime scene tape and sympathetic detectives who told me how sorry they were, how they'd do everything they could to find who did it. But I knew who did it. Everyone knew. And nobody did anything. I'm sorry, Lena said quietly. I realized something that day, Victor continued. The system, police, courts, justice, it only works if the powerful want it to work. And for people like us, people without money or connections or protection, it doesn't work at all. So I decided to become powerful, to build something that couldn't be taken away by men like Castellano. Did you ever get revenge? Victor smiled, cold and satisfied. Castellano died 6 years ago. His organization collapsed. His fortune disappeared. He spent his last days in a nursing home, broke and alone, wondering what happened to his empire. You did that. I did that, Victor confirmed, and I slept just fine afterward. Lena understood then. Victor wasn't a hero, wasn't trying to be. He was something more complicated, a man who'd been broken by injustice and rebuilt himself into the kind of power that could break others. I'm not a good man, Lena, he said, as if reading her thoughts. I've done terrible things to terrible people, and I'll do more terrible things before this is over. If that's a problem. It's not, Lena said, because she understood something too. The world wasn't fair, didn't reward goodness or punish evil consistently. Sometimes survival meant making deals with dangerous people. Sometimes freedom required violence. She'd been good for 3 years, had tried to be the perfect girlfriend, the perfect partner, the woman Ethan wanted her to be, and it had nearly killed her. Tomorrow night, Victor said, we take the first real step toward ending this, toward getting you free. And if something goes wrong, then we improvise, Victor said. We always do. They arrived at the Reinhardt and Hayes building at 11:47 p.m., 3 vehicles in total. Victor and Lena in the Mercedes. Roman and Cade in an unmarked van. Iris alone in a sedan she'd parked 2 blocks away, ready to run interference on security systems. The parking garage was mostly empty, just a few cars belonging to attorneys pulling all-nighters. Roman had acquired a parking pass, Lena didn't ask how, and they slid into a spot near the maintenance elevator without incident. Comms check, Victor said quietly. Lena touched the small earpiece Iris had given her. I hear you. Good. Iris? I'm in their security system. Iris's voice came through, crisp and clear. Cameras on the 18th floor are showing loop footage. You're ghosts. Roman, Cade? Ready, boss. They exited the vehicles and moved toward the elevator. Lena's heart was pounding, her ribs aching with each breath. She was wearing dark clothes Iris had provided, her hair pulled back, looking nothing like the broken woman who'd been carried from that apartment 6 days ago. Roman swiped the maintenance access card and the elevator doors opened. They stepped inside. 18, Victor said. The elevator began to rise, and Lena watched the numbers climb. 12, 13, 14. You're approaching the guard rotation, Iris said in their ears. Outgoing team just logged off. You've got 7 minutes. 15, 16, 17. The elevator stopped on 18. The doors opened onto a quiet hallway, expensive carpet, mahogany walls, photographs of senior partners looking dignified and serious. Server room is 50 feet ahead, Iris said. Biometric lock requires palm print and 6-digit code. They moved quickly down the hallway. The building was silent except for the hum of climate control. Somewhere distant, a phone rang once and stopped. Roman reached the server room door first. Beside it was a palm scanner and numeric keypad, glowing blue in the dim light. Lena, Victor said. She stepped forward, placed her hand on the scanner. Nothing happened for 3 terrible seconds. Then the scanner beeped. Green light. Code is 847291, Iris said. I pulled it from Ethan's deleted browser cache. Idiot uses the same password for everything. Roman typed it in. Another beep. The lock disengaged with a heavy click. They were in. The server room was cold, kept at optimal temperature for the machines. Rows of black towers hummed quietly, processing terabytes of data, case files, client information, financial records, everything the firm needed to run. I need Ethan's partner terminal, Iris said. Northeast corner, server labeled RC18. They found it quickly. Cade pulled out a laptop and connected it directly to the server housing. His fingers flew across the keyboard. I'm pulling everything, he said. Financial files, encrypted documents, email backups. This is going to take 4 minutes. You've got 3, Iris said. New guard team just entered the building. Lena watched the progress bar on Cade's screen inch forward. 40%, 50%. Come on, Roman muttered. 60%, 70. They're on the elevator, Iris said, tension creeping into her voice. 2 minutes out. 80%. Lena found herself holding her breath. If they got caught here, it was over. Ethan would know they were coming for him. The syndicate would know. Every advantage they had would disappear. 90%. 1 minute, Iris said. 95%. They're on your floor. 100%. The download completed. Cade yanked the laptop free, shoved it into his bag. Roman was already moving toward the door. Wait, Victor said quietly. He was looking at something on one of the monitors, surveillance footage from inside the building. The guards were walking down the hallway, heading straight for the server room. We're trapped, Lena whispered. No, Victor said. We're improvising. Iris, kill the lights on this floor. Now. The hallway outside went dark. Emergency lighting will kick in 30 seconds, Iris warned. That's enough. Roman, when I open this door, we go left. There's a stairwell access. We make for the garage. Boss, those guards will assume it's a power glitch. Move fast, stay quiet, and they'll never know we were here. Victor pulled the door open. The hallway was pitch black except for the faint glow of exit signs. They could hear the guards ahead, confused voices, someone calling building maintenance. They moved left, quick and silent. Lena kept her hand on Roman's back, trusting him to navigate the darkness. Behind them, emergency lights flickered on, bathing the hallway in dim red. But they'd already reached the stairwell, down 18 flights of stairs, moving fast but not running, not making noise that would echo. Lena's ribs screamed with every step. She ignored them. They burst into the parking garage, into the Mercedes. Roman and Cade to the van. Drive casual, Victor said. We're just lawyers leaving late. They pulled out of the garage one vehicle at a time, spacing themselves, looking like nothing more than tired professionals heading home. 3 blocks away, Lana finally allowed herself to breathe. We did it, she said. We got the data, Victor corrected. Now comes the hard part. Back at the safe house, Iris spread the stolen data across 3 monitors like a dealer laying out cards. The files from Ethan's server painted a picture more damning than any of them had expected. He's meticulous, Iris said, scrolling through folders organized by year, by client, by transaction type. Every wire transfer documented, every shell company mapped, every illegal dollar accounted for with spreadsheet precision. Lena stood behind her, watching her entire life reduced to data points. Account numbers that bore her name but held money she'd never touched. Signatures she'd never signed authorizing transfers she'd never made. 3 years of systematic identity theft laid bare in encrypted files. Here, Iris said, pulling up a password manager file. This is what we need. Account credentials for all 12 offshore banks. He organized them by institution. She clicked through them one by one. Cayman National, Singapore International, Bank Schweitzer. Each entry contained usernames, passwords, security questions, and most importantly, the biometric authentication protocols. Fingerprint and retinal scan for the Cayman accounts, Iris read. Voice authentication for Singapore, facial recognition for Switzerland. He built this fortress assuming you'd never have access to your own biometric data, never know these accounts existed. Can we get in? Victor asked. With Lena, absolutely. These banks use standard verification protocols. We set up video calls, route them through VPNs to spoof location data, and Lena authenticates. Once we're in, we can transfer everything out before anyone knows what's happening. Transfer it where? Lena asked. Victor turned to her. That's your decision. It's your money, legally. You can do whatever you want with it. It's not my money, Lena said quietly. It's stolen. From people Donovan hurt, people he extorted. I don't want any of it. Noble, Roman said from his position by the door, but impractical. The minute that money moves, every intelligence agency between here and Hong Kong is going to notice. You need a story for where it went. What kind of story? Lena asked. Victor crossed to one of the monitors, pulled up a map showing financial centers around the world. We create a foundation, legitimate, registered, completely above board. We transfer the $40 million into its accounts as an anonymous donation, then use those funds for whatever charitable purpose you choose. Women's shelters, domestic violence prevention, legal aid for abuse survivors, whatever feels right. And that protects me how? Because the foundation is separate from you. The donation is anonymous. If anyone traces the money, they'll find it was moved by someone with access to your biometric data, but they won't find you. Not if we do this right. Lena tried to process that. $40 million in stolen money transformed into something that could actually help people. Women like her, trapped in situations like hers. It felt almost like redemption. How long do we have? She asked. Ethan won't know we accessed his servers for maybe another day, Iris said. But the moment we start moving money, alarms are going to ring. Every bank will notify every other bank. The syndicate will know within hours that their accounts are being drained. So we move fast, Victor said. We hit all 12 banks simultaneously, transfer everything in one coordinated strike, and lock it down before they can react. That's going to take coordination, Cade said. And bodies. We can't be in 12 places at once. We don't need to be. Lena can authenticate remotely. We just need secure connections and someone monitoring each transfer to make sure nothing goes wrong. Victor looked at his team, then at Lena. We do this tomorrow. First thing, before Ethan has time to change the passwords or lock down the accounts. Everyone clear? Nods around the room, professional, committed. But as the meeting broke up and people dispersed to their tasks, Lena felt anxiety coiling in her stomach. Tomorrow they'd be stealing $40 million from people who killed for much less. Tomorrow, they'd be painting a target on her back that would never fully disappear. She found herself standing on the back porch again, staring at the city lights, trying to breathe through the fear. Victor joined her a few minutes later, carrying 2 glasses of whiskey. You look like you need this, he said, offering her one. Lena took it gratefully. The whiskey burned going down, sharp and clean. Having second thoughts? Victor asked. 100th thoughts, more like. Lena took another sip. I keep thinking about what happens after. Even if we move the money, even if we set up this foundation, Ethan's still out there. The syndicate's still out there. They're not going to just forget I exist. No, Victor agreed. They won't. So what's the end game? I spend the rest of my life looking over my shoulder? Victor was quiet for a moment, considering his words. There's another option, he finally said. One I didn't want to bring up until you were ready to hear it. I'm listening. We don't just take the money, we destroy them completely. Ethan, the syndicate, everyone involved. We gather enough evidence to bring federal charges that stick. RICO statutes, money laundering, racketeering. We hand the authorities everything they need to dismantle the Donovan organization from the inside. You'd do that? Lena asked. Turn them over to the FBI? I thought you hated the authorities. I do, Victor said, but I hate men who beat women more. And strategically, it makes sense. Donovan's been trying to muscle into my territory for years. If he goes down, it creates opportunities. Opens up distribution routes, political connections, all kinds of advantages. So this is business to you. Partly, Victor admitted, but it's also personal. You asked me why I helped you that first night. Truth is, I didn't plan to. I read that text and told myself it wasn't my problem. But something made me trace that number anyway, made me drive to your apartment. And when I saw you on that floor, barely breathing, he paused. I haven't felt that angry in years. Haven't wanted to hurt someone that badly since Castellano. Lena looked at him, this complicated man who'd saved her for reasons he couldn't fully explain. What happens to us after, when this is over and Donovan's in prison and I'm free? That's up to you, Victor said. You can disappear. New name, new city, new life. I can arrange all of it. Or you can stay, work with the foundation, help other women who need what you needed. Either way, you'll be safe. Will I? Lena asked. Will I ever really be safe? Victor met her eyes. As safe as anyone can be in this world, and safer than most, because I'll make sure of it. It was a promise, not a guarantee, because guarantees didn't exist in this life, but a promise from a man who kept his word, who'd already proven he'd break down doors and wage wars to protect her. Lena finished her whiskey. Then let's burn it all down. Oh, they started at 7 a.m. when banks in Asia were closing and European markets were in full swing. Iris had set up 12 separate workstations, each one dedicated to a different financial institution, each one routing through a different VPN to mask their location. Lena sat at the central station, Iris beside her with a checklist that looked like a military operation. Cayman National first, Iris said. Account number ends in 4782. Username is your email address, password is in the system. They'll ask for fingerprint authentication through their mobile app. Lena pulled up the bank's website, her hands only shaking slightly. She'd spent an hour this morning practicing with Iris, learning the procedures, understanding what to expect. But theory was different from action, and the moment she entered her credentials, she felt the weight of what they were doing. The bank's interface loaded, professional, clean, designed for people moving millions without leaving their living room. A prompt appeared. Place right index finger on device sensor. Lena pressed her finger to her phone's fingerprint reader. 3 seconds of processing, then a green check mark. Access granted. The account balance appeared on screen, $4,247,891.33. Transfer it to the foundation account, Iris said, sliding a paper with routing numbers across the desk. All of it. Lena initiated the transfer, her heart pounding. $4 million, moving with a few keystrokes. The system asked her to confirm. She clicked yes. Transfer initiated. Processing time, 2 to 4 hours. Next, Iris said, already pulling up the Singapore bank. They worked through the accounts methodically. Singapore required voice authentication, so Lena read a prepared script into the microphone while the bank's AI verified her vocal patterns. Switzerland needed facial recognition, positioning her face in front of a webcam while their software measured the distance between her eyes, the shape of her jaw, the unique geometry that made her identifiable. Luxembourg, Monaco, Cyprus, the Bahamas. With each transfer, Lena felt something shift inside her. This money had been used to control her, to trap her, to build a cage from offshore accounts and forged signatures. Now she was taking that power back, redirecting it towards something that might actually save lives. By noon, they'd cleared 8 accounts, $28 million in motion, flowing through international wire systems toward the foundation Iris had incorporated overnight in Delaware. 4 more, Iris said, pulling up the 9th account. You're doing great. But as Lena logged into the Panama bank, an alert flashed across the screen in red. Account flagged for suspicious activity. Please contact your account manager. What does that mean? Lena asked. Iris's expression hardened. It means someone noticed. Probably automated fraud detection, seeing multiple transfers from accounts that have been dormant for months. Can we still access it? Try the transfer. If it goes through, we're fine. If not, Lena initiated the transfer. $3,892,445.67 to the foundation account. The screen went blank for 3 seconds. Then, transfer denied. Account temporarily frozen pending verification. Damn, Iris muttered. They locked it. What about the other 3 accounts? Victor asked, appearing behind them. We move fast, Iris said, before the banks start talking to each other. They hit the 10th account, Hong Kong. The transfer went through. $31 million secured. 11th account, Isle of Man. Transfer approved. $35 million. But when Lena tried to log into the 12th and final account, a different message appeared. Account closed by primary holder. Remaining balance transferred to alternative account. Ethan, Lena whispered. He knows. When was it closed? Victor asked. Iris checked the transaction history. 20 minutes ago, he must have been monitoring the accounts, saw the transfers starting, and moved whatever he could before we got to it. How much did he save? Last balance shows $1.8 million. Not huge, but enough to run on. Victor's jaw tightened. Where did he transfer it? Give me a minute. Iris's fingers flew across her keyboard, tracking the digital trail. He moved it to a personal account, domestic. First National of Pennsylvania, Center City branch. That's his emergency fund, Victor said. Money he kept separate in case he needed to disappear fast. Can we touch it? Lena asked. Not without him knowing we're coming, and the moment we try, he'll move it again or withdraw it in cash. Victor paced, thinking. But it tells us something important. Ethan's scared. He knows we're taking his empire apart, and he's going into survival mode. What does that mean for us? Lena asked. It means he's going to make a move. Either he runs, or he comes at us before we can finish this. Victor turned to Roman. Double security on the safe house. I want eyes on all approaches, armed response teams within 3 minutes. If Ethan or anyone from the syndicate comes looking for Lena, I want to know before they get within a mile of her. On it, boss. Iris, how much did we get total? $35.2 million, Iris said, safely transferred to the foundation account. The remaining 4.8 is either frozen or moved. That's enough, Victor said. More than enough. Lena, you did it. The money's out of their hands. Lena stared at the screen showing the foundation's balance. $35 million that would fund shelters, legal aid, emergency housing, counseling. enough to help thousands of women escape the kind of life she'd barely survived. Now what? She asked. Now we wait for them to react, Victor said, and when they do, we hit them with everything we've got. The reaction came faster than expected. At 4 p.m., Iris's phone buzzed with an alert from her monitoring software. Ethan just left his law firm, moving fast, 2 security guys with him. Where's he going? Victor asked. Iris tracked his phone's location. South Philadelphia. Looks like Marcus's apartment. Lena's blood went cold. No, he wouldn't. He absolutely would, Victor said grimly. He knows we took the money. He knows you're involved. And he knows the fastest way to get to you is through your brother. We have to stop him, Lena said, already moving toward the door. Victor caught her arm. We will. But you're not going anywhere near this. Roman, Cade, get a team to Marcus's location. Extract him before Ethan arrives. Use whatever force is necessary. I'm coming with you, Lena insisted. No, he's my brother, Victor. I'm not sitting here while you fight my battles. They locked eyes, and something passed between them. Understanding, maybe, or just the recognition that some arguments weren't worth having. Fine, Victor said, but you stay in the car, and if shooting starts, you get down and you stay down. Clear? Clear. They were in the Mercedes and moving within 90 seconds, Roman driving with the kind of controlled urgency that came from years of high-stakes operations. Cade followed in the SUV with 3 more of Victor's men, all armed, already. Lena's phone buzzed. Marcus calling. She answered. Marcus, listen to me. Lena, there are men outside my building. Her brother's voice was tight with fear. 2 guys in suits watching the entrance. One of them looks like that picture you showed me, your ex. Lock your door. Don't open it for anyone. We're coming to get you. What's happening? What did you get me into? I'll explain everything, but right now you need to trust me. Stay inside, stay quiet, and we'll be there in 10 minutes. Lena? 10 minutes, Marcus. Hold on. She ended the call, her hands shaking. This was her fault. She dragged Marcus into this world of violence and money and men who solved problems with bullets. If something happened to him because of her choices, he's going to be fine, Victor said quietly. We won't let Ethan touch him. You can't promise that. No, Victor admitted, but I can promise I'll do everything in my power to make it true. They reached Marcus's neighborhood in 8 minutes, Roman taking corners fast enough to make the tires scream. The SUV stayed close behind them. There, Cade said over the radio. Black sedan, 2 men outside the building entrance. Lena saw them. Ethan and another man, both in expensive suits, both scanning the street like they owned it. Ethan was talking on his phone, gesturing with his free hand. What's the play, boss? Roman asked. Victor assessed the situation. Residential street, civilians everywhere, broad daylight. A firefight here would bring every cop in South Philly down on them within minutes. We talk first, Victor said. Show of force, but controlled. Roman parked directly in front of them. Cade, position your team to cut off their exit. I want them feeling surrounded. The Mercedes pulled up to the curb 20 feet from where Ethan stood. Victor stepped out first, moving with predatory calm. Roman followed, a mountain of controlled violence. Behind them, Cade's team emerged from the SUV, spreading out to create a perimeter. Ethan saw them and stopped mid-sentence in his phone conversation. His face went through several expressions in rapid succession. Surprise, recognition, calculation. Victor Vale, Ethan said, ending his call and sliding the phone into his pocket. I wondered when we'd meet. Wondered or hoped? Victor asked mildly. Both, I suppose. You've been making quite the mess of my business affairs. Your business affairs involved stealing from my friend, Victor said. I have a policy about that. Your friend? Ethan's eyes found the Mercedes, found Lena sitting in the back seat. His expression shifted to something ugly. Is that what she told you? That we're not together? That I'm the villain? He took a step forward. Lena's unstable, Mr. Vale. Delusional. She needs psychiatric help, not whatever fantasy you're selling her. Funny, Victor said. She seems pretty stable to me. You, on the other hand, seem nervous, like someone who just watched $35 million disappear from accounts you thought were secure. Ethan's face went carefully blank. I don't know what you're talking about. Sure you don't. Just like you don't know about the Donovan Syndicate or the money laundering operation you've been running for 3 years, or the fact that you've been using an innocent woman as your financial shield. Careful, Mr. Vale, that sounds dangerously close to slander. It's only slander if it's not true. Victor smiled, cold and sharp. And we both know every word is true. Question is, what are you going to do about it? Ethan glanced at his companion, some silent communication passing between them. I'm here for what belongs to me. Lena and I need to have a conversation about her recent actions. That's all. No violence necessary. See, that's where we disagree, Victor said. Because Lena doesn't belong to you. Never did. You just convinced her otherwise through years of systematic abuse and manipulation. But she's clear-eyed now, and she's not having any conversations with you, today or ever. Then we have a problem. We have several problems, Victor agreed. But you leaving this neighborhood alive isn't one of them. Not yet. You want to walk away from this? Here's how it happens. You get in your car, you drive back to your office, and you start preparing for federal investigators to tear your life apart. Because that money you tried to hide? We've got every transaction documented. Every wire transfer, every shell company, every single illegal dollar. And we're handing it all to the FBI. For the first time, genuine fear flickered across Ethan's face. You're bluffing. Am I? Want to test that theory? Victor took a step closer. Or do you want to accept that you lost, cut your losses, and disappear before the syndicate realizes you failed them? The syndicate, Ethan said slowly, is going to kill you for this. You think you're protected because you run part of Philadelphia? Sean Donovan owns the entire East Coast. He has resources you can't imagine. And the moment he finds out you stole his money, he already knows, Victor interrupted. We made sure of it. Sent him a very detailed breakdown of exactly where his $40 million went, along with documentation proving you were skimming off the top. You know, that extra one. $8 million you tried to save? The money you moved to your personal account? That looked very suspicious to a man like Donovan. Made him wonder what else you might have been stealing. Ethan's face went white. You didn't. We did. So now you've got the FBI coming from one direction and the syndicate coming from the other. Your move, counselor. What's your play? The silence stretched. Lena watched from the car, her heart pounding, as Ethan processed his impossible situation. She could see the calculations running behind his eyes, the desperate search for an escape route that didn't exist. Finally, Ethan spoke, his voice tight with barely controlled rage. This isn't over. Sure it is, Victor said. You just don't want to admit it. Ethan turned to his companion. We're leaving. But as they moved toward their car, the companion reached inside his jacket. Roman reacted instantly, pulling his weapon. Cade's team did the same, a chorus of safeties clicking off. Don't, Victor said quietly. Don't make this the moment you die. The companion froze, hand still inside his jacket. Slowly, Victor continued. Show me your hands, both of you. Ethan raised his hands, empty. His companion pulled his hand out carefully, also empty. Now get in your car and drive away, Victor said, while you still can. They backed toward their sedan, moving carefully, aware that a dozen guns were tracking their every movement. Ethan got in the driver's seat, started the engine. But before pulling away, he rolled down his window and looked directly at the Mercedes, directly at Lena. I loved you, he called out, loud enough for everyone to hear. Everything I did to protect you, to give you a life. And this is how you repay me? Lena climbed out of the car before Victor could stop her. She walked toward Ethan's sedan, her ribs aching, her hands steady. You loved me? She said quietly. Is that what you call it? The broken ribs? The locked door? The 3 years of making me believe I was crazy? You were always so fragile, Ethan said. I was trying to help you. You were trying to control me, Lena interrupted, and you almost succeeded. But I'm done being fragile, done being yours, done being invisible. She leaned closer to his window. So drive away, Ethan. Run fast and run far. Because the next time we meet, I won't be the woman who couldn't breathe on her apartment floor. I'll be the woman who watched your entire empire burn. And I'll sleep just fine afterward. For a moment, something like recognition flickered in Ethan's eyes. An understanding that the woman he'd broken had rebuilt herself into something harder, sharper, beyond his reach. Then he drove away, tires squealing on asphalt. Lena watched until the sedan disappeared around a corner. Then she turned to Victor. Go get my brother. Marcus came down from his apartment 5 minutes later, escorted by Cade, looking shell-shocked and furious in equal measure. Someone want to tell me what the hell just happened? He demanded. Lena hugged him, felt him stiffen with surprise before returning the embrace. I will, she promised. All of it. But not here. Come with us. They drove back to the safe house in convoy, Marcus in the SUV with Cade's team. During the ride, Lena watched the city pass by and tried to process what she'd just done. She'd confronted Ethan, stood her ground, told him exactly what she thought of his version of love. And it had felt powerful, terrifying, but powerful. You handled that well, Victor said. I wanted to hit him, Lena admitted. Wanted to hurt him the way he hurt me. But you didn't. You stayed controlled. That's stronger. Is it? Because it doesn't feel strong. It feels like I let him walk away. He didn't walk away, Victor said. He ran. There's a difference, and now he's out there with nowhere to go. The FBI hunting him, the syndicate hunting him, his entire life falling apart. That's better than any punch you could have thrown. Maybe. But watching Ethan drive off, Lena couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't finished, that the confrontation they just had was only the opening move in a much larger game. Back at the safe house, they gathered in the war room. Marcus looked at the maps and photographs and evidence boards with growing horror. This is insane, he said. Lena, you're caught up with the actual mob. I'm caught up with the people fighting the mob, Lena corrected. There's a difference. Is there? Because those guys outside my building had guns, a lot of guns. And if they hadn't, Ethan would have taken you, Victor said. Used you to force Lena's cooperation. We saved your life today, whether you realize it or not. Marcus looked at his sister. Is that true? Yes, Lena said quietly. Ethan was coming for you, to hurt me through you. That's who he is. That's who he's always been. Marcus sat down heavily. So what now? I just go back to my life and pretend this never happened? No, Victor said. You stay here until we're sure you're safe. Could be a few days, could be a few weeks. But you don't leave this house without security, and you don't contact anyone from your previous life until we've neutralized the threat. Neutralized the threat, Marcus repeated. You mean killed people. If necessary, Victor said without inflection. Marcus looked at Lena. How are you okay with this? Because the alternative was dying on a floor in a locked apartment, Lena said. Because the system didn't protect me, and Victor did. Because sometimes survival means making deals with dangerous people. That's not you talking. That's him. Marcus pointed at Victor. It's me, Lena said firmly. The me I became when I had to fight to stay alive. The me who's done being a victim. She moved closer to her brother. I know this is a lot. I know it's scary. But I need you to trust me. Trust that I know what I'm doing. Marcus looked at her for a long moment. Really looked, seeing past the bruises and the tension to the core of who his sister had become. Okay, he finally said. I trust you. But when this is over, you owe me the full story. Every detail. Deal, Lena said. That night, while Marcus settled into one of the upstairs bedrooms, Lena found herself back in the war room with Victor, staring at photographs of Sean Donovan. The syndicate leader was 62, silver-haired, distinguished-looking. He could have been a banker or a politician, except for his eyes, which were flat and cold even in photographs. He's going to come for us, Lena said. Probably, Victor agreed. Are we ready? We're never fully ready, but we're prepared. And we have something he doesn't. What's that? Victor looked at her. Motivation. He's fighting to protect his empire. We're fighting for your life. Only one of those is worth dying for. Lena thought about that, about the difference between defending territory and defending people, about men who fought for power versus people who fought for survival. I want to meet him, she said suddenly. Victor raised an eyebrow. Donovan? Yes, before this turns into open war. I want to look him in the eye and tell him I'm not giving back the money, that it's gone to help people he's hurt. I want him to know exactly who took his empire apart. That's suicide, son, Victor said flatly. Or it's leverage, Lena countered. Think about it. Donovan doesn't know me, doesn't know what I'm capable of. Right now, I'm just a name, a problem to be solved. But if I face him directly, if I show him I'm not afraid, that changes the equation. It changes it by making you a target. I'm already a target. This just makes me a target with teeth. Victor studied her. You've changed. From the woman I pulled out of that apartment. I had to, Lena said simply. The old me would have gotten killed the moment you left me alone. This version might actually survive. And if Donovan decides to kill you on the spot, then you'll be there to stop him, right? It wasn't really a question. It was trust, pure and absolute. Trust that Victor would protect her even in the most dangerous situations. Right, Victor said after a moment. I'll be there. So how do we arrange a meeting with a man who wants us dead? Victor smiled, dangerous and pleased. We offer him something he can't refuse. Information, leverage, a way out of the mess we've created. What kind of leverage? Evidence against Ethan. Proof that your ex-boyfriend has been stealing from the syndicate for years. We give Donovan someone to blame, someone to punish. And in exchange, he leaves you alone. You'd sacrifice Ethan. In a heartbeat, Victor said. He's already dead. He just doesn't know it yet. Question is whether we let the FBI take him down slowly or we let Donovan do it fast. Either way, he pays for what he did to you. Lena thought about Ethan on that apartment floor, broken and bleeding the way he'd left her. Part of her wanted to watch, wanted to see him experience the fear and pain he'd inflicted. But another part, the part that was still trying to be human, still trying to be good, hesitated. I don't want to be like him, she said quietly. Don't want to become the kind of person who destroys lives without feeling it. You won't, Victor said, because you're asking the question. People like Ethan, like Donovan, they never ask. They just take and hurt and destroy because they can. The fact that you're worried about it means you're nothing like them. Promise me something, Lena said. What? When this is over, when we've finished burning it all down, help me remember who I was. Before Ethan, before the fear. Help me find that version of myself again. Victor reached out, took her hand. His grip was warm, solid, real. I promise, he said. But maybe you don't need to go back. Maybe you just need to go forward. Become someone new, someone stronger than before, but still good. Still you. Lena squeezed his hand, feeling something shift between them. Gratitude, yes, but also connection, understanding, the strange intimacy that came from walking through fire together and coming out alive. Okay, she said. Forward it is. The meeting with Sean Donovan took 3 days to arrange. 3 days of back-channel negotiations conducted through intermediaries, each message carefully worded to avoid outright threats, while making the stakes absolutely clear. Victor wanted neutral ground, public enough that open violence would draw attention, private enough that they could speak freely. Donovan wanted assurances that this wasn't a trap, that Victor wasn't planning to eliminate him the moment he showed his face. They settled on the Bellevue Hotel's private dining room at 2 p.m. on a Tuesday. Expensive, elegant, the kind of place where wealthy men made deals over scotch and handshakes. 4 armed guards each, no more. A show of strength without turning the meeting into a battlefield. Lena spent those 3 days preparing, not physically, though her ribs were finally healing enough that she could move without wincing. Mentally, emotionally, getting ready to face the man whose empire had nearly consumed her life. You don't have to do this, Marcus said the night before the meeting. He'd spent the past 72 hours pacing the safe house like a caged animal, worrying about his sister, asking questions that no one could fully answer. Let Victor handle it. That's what he does, right? Handle dangerous people? Victor can't speak for me, Lena said. She was sitting in the safe house library, a room lined with books that Victor probably never read, trying to calm her racing thoughts. Donovan needs to see that I'm real, that I'm not just some pawn Victor's using. If I'm going to have any chance at real freedom, it has to come from my own strength, not just Victor's protection. That's very philosophical, Marcus said, sitting across from her. But what happens if Donovan decides philosophy doesn't matter and just has you killed? Then Victor burns his entire organization to the ground, Lena said simply. That's the deal we've made. I'm protected not because I'm helpless, but because hurting me costs more than it's worth. And you trust Victor to follow through on that? Lena thought about the question. Did she trust Victor? This man who'd appeared in her life through a misdirected text message, who ran a criminal empire, who talked about violence the way other people talked about weather. Yes, she said, I do. He's kept every promise he's made, saved me, protected you, helped me take back the money Ethan stole. He could have used me, could have kept those accounts for himself. Instead, he's risking war with the Donovan Syndicate to make sure I get free. Maybe he has other reasons, Marcus suggested. Maybe it's not all altruism. It's definitely not all altruism, Lena agreed. Destroying Donovan's organization benefits Victor's business. I understand that, but his reasons can be complicated and still include actually caring about what happens to me. People aren't simple, Marcus, especially not people like Victor. Her brother was quiet for a moment. Then, do you have feelings for him? The question caught Lena off guard. She'd been carefully not thinking about that particular complication, focusing instead on survival and freedom and destroying the men who'd tried to destroy her. I don't know, she admitted. Maybe. Or maybe I'm just grateful and confused and mistaking protection for something more. Either way, it doesn't matter right now. Right now, I need to focus on getting through tomorrow. And after tomorrow? After tomorrow, I figure out who I am when I'm not running or hiding or fighting, but one crisis at a time. Marcus reached across and squeezed her hand. For what it's worth, I think you're already that person. The you that you're trying to find? She's right here. She's been here the whole time, just buried under everything Ethan tried to make you believe about yourself. Lena felt tears prick her eyes. When did you get so wise? I've always been wise, Marcus said. You were just too busy taking care of everyone else to notice. That night, Lena barely slept. She lay in bed staring at the ceiling, running through scenarios. What she'd say to Donovan, how she'd hold herself, whether she could actually look a man like that in the eye without showing fear. Around 3 a.m., she gave up on sleep and walked downstairs. She found Victor in the war room studying documents by lamplight. Couldn't sleep either? He asked without looking up. Too much in my head, Lena said, sitting in the chair beside him. What are you reading? Donovan's history, everything we could compile. Where he came from, how he built his empire, who he's killed, who he's protected. Victor tapped a photograph of a younger Donovan standing beside a man in a police uniform. He started as an enforcer for the Irish mob in the 80s, worked his way up through violence and strategic marriages. His current wife is the daughter of a New Jersey crime family. His son runs their legitimate businesses. His daughter married a state senator. Sounds like royalty, Lena said. That's how he sees it. He's not just a criminal, he's a dynasty builder. Everything he does is about legacy, about creating something that lasts beyond him. Victor looked at her. That's useful information. Men like that, they think long-term. They don't make rash decisions based on anger. They calculate risk versus reward. So me sitting across from him, telling him I took his money and gave it to charity, that's a calculable risk? It's leverage, Victor said. You're showing him that you're not afraid, that you understand power, that you can't be intimidated. That makes you interesting. And interesting people are more valuable alive than dead. Unless they're too interesting. Then they become threats. Then they become threats, Victor agreed, which is why I'll be right there with you, and why we're meeting in a place where any violence would have immediate consequences. Donovan's smart enough to know that killing you in the Bellevue would bring attention he doesn't need. Lena nodded, trying to absorb the strategy. What if he makes a play afterward? After the meeting, when we're vulnerable? Then we respond with everything we have. But I don't think he will. Not immediately. He'll want to assess first, understand the full situation, give himself options. Victor set down those documents. The truth is, we've already hurt him badly. $35 million disappeared from his accounts. His lawyer is either stealing from him or so incompetent he let it happen. His entire money laundering operation is compromised. He's bleeding, and he knows it. Tomorrow isn't about him threatening us. It's about him trying to stop the bleeding by getting the money back, which we can't give him. The foundation has it, and the foundation is legitimate. We move that money again. It raises flags with federal regulators. So we offer him something else. Ethan, Lena said quietly. Ethan, Victor confirmed. We give him proof that your ex-boyfriend has been skimming from the syndicate for years. Proof that the 1.8 million he saved in his personal account was just the tip of the iceberg. We make Donovan believe that the real theft wasn't us taking 40 million. It was Ethan stealing 3 times that over the course of their partnership. Is that true? Does it matter? Victor asked. We have documents that suggest it. Bank statements, wire transfers, offshore accounts with Ethan's fingerprints all over them. Real or fabricated, Donovan will believe it because it gives him a story that makes sense. A story where he's the victim, not the incompetent crime boss who got robbed. Lena thought about Ethan, about what would happen when Donovan turned his attention toward him. He'll kill him. Probably. And I'm supposed to be okay with that? Victor studied her face. You tell me. Are you okay with it? Lena didn't answer immediately. She thought about her broken ribs, the locked apartment, the 3 years of systematic psychological torture disguised as love. She thought about the $40 million Ethan had stolen using her identity, about how he'd built her into a cage of forged signatures and offshore accounts. I don't want to be the kind of person who's okay with murder, she finally said. But I'm also not going to lose sleep over Ethan facing consequences. He made his choices. He knew what world he was playing in. If that world devours him, that's justice of a kind. Cold comfort, Victor observed. It's the only comfort available, Lena replied. In a world where the system protects men like Ethan and punishes women like me, where police and courts and laws only work for people with money and power, sometimes cold comfort is all you get. Victor nodded slowly. You've learned faster than I expected. How to think like someone who operates in the shadows. I had a good teacher. I'm not teaching you to be like me, Victor said sharply. I'm teaching you to survive people like me. There's a difference. Is there? Lena asked. Because from where I'm sitting, survival and power look pretty similar. They're not, Victor said firmly. Power is about control. Survival is about freedom. You can have one without the other. He paused. I have power, but I'm not free. I haven't been free since I was 17 years old and decided to become the kind of man who couldn't be hurt. You still have a chance at actual freedom. Don't throw it away trying to become me. The vulnerability in his voice surprised her. Victor rarely let his guard down, rarely showed anything but controlled competence. But sitting here in the lamplight at 3 a.m, he looked tired. Not physically, tired in his soul. What would you do if you were free? Lena asked quietly. Victor laughed, but there was no humor in it. I don't even know anymore. I've spent so long building this empire, protecting it, expanding it. I don't remember what I wanted before I wanted power. Maybe you wanted to be safe, Lena said. Maybe that's all anyone really wants, to be safe and loved and seen. Maybe, Victor agreed, but safety's expensive in this world, and I've paid the price too many times to walk away now. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, 2 people trapped in different ways by the violence that had shaped their lives. Finally, Lena stood. I should try to sleep. Tomorrow's going to be difficult. Tomorrow's going to change everything, Victor corrected. Get some rest. You'll need it. The Bellevue Hotel rose like a monument to old money, all marble columns and crystal chandeliers. Lena walked through the lobby at Victor's side, wearing clothes Iris had selected. Dark slacks, a silk blouse, professional but not submissive. Victor wore a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Lena's previous monthly salary, looking every inch the crime boss he was. Roman and 3 other guards flanked them, their expressions professionally neutral, their weapons concealed but undoubtedly present. A hotel manager met them at the elevator, his smile polished and empty. Mr. Vale, your party is waiting in the founder's room. If you'll follow me. They took the elevator to the 3rd floor, walked down a hallway decorated with paintings of Philadelphia's industrial past. The manager opened double doors onto a private dining room, then discreetly withdrew. Sean Donovan sat at the head of a long table, flanked by his own guards. He was exactly as he appeared in photographs. Silver hair, expensive suit, the kind of face that belonged on a corporate board or a political campaign. Except for his eyes, which tracked Lena with the cold calculation of a predator evaluating prey. Mr. Vale, Donovan said, his voice carrying the faint trace of an Irish accent smoothed by decades in America. "Thank you for agreeing to meet." "Mr. Donovan," Victor replied evenly. "This is Lena Ward." Donovan's attention shifted fully to Lena. "Miss Ward, you've caused me considerable trouble." "You caused yourself trouble," Lena said, surprised by the steadiness of her own voice, "when you decided to use me as a pawn in your money laundering operation. I've never met you before today. Any business arrangements were made through your fiancé, Mr. Calder, who opened accounts in my name without my knowledge or consent, who forged my signatures and used my identity to move your dirty money. That's not a business arrangement, that's fraud." Donovan smiled thinly. "A technical distinction." "A legal distinction," Lena corrected. "One that matters when federal prosecutors start looking at who should go to prison." "You're very confident for someone who stole $40 million. "I didn't steal anything," Lena said. "I transferred money from accounts that bore my name, using biometric authentication that proved I was the legitimate account holder. Legally, that money was mine. Morally, it was stolen from people you extorted and hurt. I just redirected it somewhere it might actually do some good." Donovan's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Reassessment, perhaps. "You have fire. I'll give you that. But fire gets people burned." "Only if they stand too close," Lena replied. Victor stepped in smoothly. "Mr. Donovan, we're not here to debate ethics or legality. We're here to find a solution that serves everyone's interests. You want your money back. We want Miss Ward to be left alone. Those goals don't have to be mutually exclusive." "I'm listening," Donovan said. Victor pulled a folder from his briefcase, slid it across the table. "That's documentation showing that Ethan Calder has been systematically stealing from your organization for at least 4 years. The $40 million in the Ward accounts? That's just what we found. Based on these patterns, we estimate he's diverted somewhere between 80 and 100 million over the course of your partnership." Donovan opened the folder, began reading. His expression remained neutral, but Lena saw his jaw tighten slightly. "These accounts," Donovan said after a moment, "how do I know they're real?" "Check them yourself. The routing numbers are all there. Most of them are in Calder's name, some in his wife's maiden name, a few in shell companies he controls personally." Victor leaned back in his chair. "He's been playing you, Mr. Donovan, using your trust to build his own fortune while you thought he was protecting yours. And you expect me to believe this out of the goodness of your heart? That you're not just trying to deflect blame?" "We expect you to believe it because it's true," Victor said, "and because it makes more sense than the alternative. You think Miss Ward, a nurse who makes $40,000 a year, orchestrated a $40 million theft from your organization? Or is it more likely that the attorney who handled all your financial operations saw an opportunity and took it?" Donovan looked at Lena. "What's your stake in this? If the money's gone to your foundation, why do you care what I think happened?" "Because Ethan Calder tried to kill me," Lena said quietly. "Because he spent 3 years using me as his insurance policy, his scapegoat, his disposable tool. And when I finally escaped, he came for my brother, tried to use him to force me back under his control." She leaned forward. "I want him to face consequences, real consequences, the kind that come from powerful men realizing they've been betrayed. So yes, I have a stake. I want to watch him fall." "Revenge," Donovan said. "I can respect that. It's not just revenge. It's justice. The kind the courts won't give because Ethan knows how to manipulate the system. But you operate outside that system. You can deliver the kind of justice that actually sticks." Donovan studied her for a long moment. Then he turned back to Victor. "Let's say I believe you. Let's say Calder has been stealing from me, and this evidence is legitimate. What exactly are you proposing? We give you everything we have on Calder, every account, every transaction, every piece of proof. You handle him however you see fit. In exchange, Miss Ward and her brother are off limits, permanently. No retaliation, no future claims on the foundation money, no attempts to drag her back into your world. And what about the 40 million that's already gone? Consider it the cost of learning you had a thief in your organization," Victor said. "A cheaper lesson than letting Calder continue stealing for another 4 years." Donovan was quiet, his fingers drumming slowly on the table. The guards around the room stood motionless, tension crackling in the air like electricity before a storm. "There's something else," Donovan finally said. "Something you're not telling me." Victor raised an eyebrow. "Such as?" "Why you care. You're not a good Samaritan, Mr. Vale. You're a businessman. You don't go to war with my organization over one woman unless there's something in it for you beyond simple profit." "You're right," Victor admitted. "I'm not a good Samaritan. But I am a man who keeps his word. And I gave Miss Ward my word that I'd protect her. In my world, that means something." "In my world, too," Donovan said. "But it doesn't explain why you gave your word in the first place." Victor was silent for a moment. Then, "Because 17 years ago, my parents were murdered by a man named Castellano, an Irish mob boss who killed them to cover up a crime they witnessed. And nobody helped. Nobody protected them. Nobody gave a damn that two innocent people died because they were in the wrong place at the wrong time." Donovan's expression shifted slightly. Recognition, maybe? Or just the acknowledgement of shared history? "I remember Castellano," Donovan said. "Arrogant bastard. Thought he was untouchable." "He was wrong," Victor said flatly. "Just like Ethan Calder is wrong if he thinks he can hurt people without consequences." The silence stretched. Lena held her breath, watching these two powerful men assess each other across the table. This moment would determine everything, whether she walked out of here free or marked for death, whether the war ended or escalated. Finally, Donovan closed the folder. "All right, Mr. Vale, we have a deal. I take care of Calder. You keep Miss Ward and her brother out of my business. The $40 million is written off as an operational loss." He looked at Lena. "But understand something, Miss Ward. This protection extends only as far as your silence. You talk to federal investigators. You testify against anyone in my organization. You cause me any additional problems. The deal is void. Clear?" "Clear," Lena said. "Then we're done here." Donovan stood, his guards moving with him. "Mr. Vale, I trust you'll have the Calder documentation sent to my office." "By the end of the day," Victor confirmed. Donovan walked to the door, paused. "For what it's worth, Miss Ward, I'm sorry about what Calder did to you. Men who hurt women are a particular kind of coward. He'll answer for it." Then he was gone, his guards following like shadows. Lena released a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. "Is it really over?" "This part is," Victor said, "but we need to move fast. The moment Donovan's people start looking at Ethan, Ethan's going to run. We need to make sure he doesn't get far." They found Ethan at his apartment in Center City, throwing clothes into a suitcase with the desperate speed of a man who knew the walls were closing in. Victor's team had been monitoring him since the meeting with Donovan, tracking his movements, waiting for the right moment. When they kicked in the door, Ethan spun around with a gun in his hand. "Don't," Roman said calmly, his own weapon trained on Ethan's chest. "You're not fast enough." Ethan's hand shook. Behind him, the suitcase lay open, stuffed with cash and passports and everything a man needed to disappear. "Victor Vale," Ethan said, his voice raw with fear and fury. "Did you come to finish this yourself?" "I came to watch," Victor said, stepping into the apartment, "and to make sure you understand exactly how thoroughly you've lost." "Lost? I still have options. I can disappear. Start over. You think you're the only one with resources?" "I think you're delusional," Victor said. "I think you've spent so long manipulating people weaker than you that you forgot what happens when someone stronger plays the same game." Ethan's eyes found Lena standing behind Victor, and something ugly twisted his expression. "You did this. You poisoned him against me, turned him into your attack dog." "I told him the truth," Lena said, "about what you did to me. What you've been doing to me for 3 years. That's all." "I protected you," Ethan snarled. "Gave you a life, and you threw it away for what? For him? For this criminal?" "I threw it away for myself," Lena said, "because a life locked in an apartment with broken ribs isn't a life worth having." "You're weak," Ethan spat. "You've always been weak. That's why you needed me." "No," Lena said quietly. "I'm strong. I just didn't know it until I had to be." The sound of footsteps in the hallway made everyone tense. But it wasn't Victor's men. Sean Donovan walked into the apartment flanked by 2 guards, his expression calm and controlled. He looked at Ethan like someone examining an interesting insect. Mr. Calder, Donovan said pleasantly, we need to have a conversation about some accounting irregularities. Ethan's face went white. Mr. Donovan, I can explain. I'm sure you can. That's why we're going to take a drive together, discuss these matters privately. Donovan's smile didn't reach his eyes. Mr. Vale, thank you for the documentation. It was most illuminating. Victor nodded. Happy to help. Donovan's guards moved toward Ethan, who raised his gun with shaking hands. Stay back. I'll shoot. I swear I'll... Roman moved faster than Lena could track, disarming Ethan with brutal efficiency. The gun clattered to the floor. Ethan tried to struggle, but Donovan's men had him restrained within seconds. Miss Ward, Donovan said, turning to Lena, would you like to say anything to Mr. Calder before we leave? Lena looked at the man who'd controlled her life for 3 years, who'd convinced her she was crazy, fragile, worthless, who'd broken her ribs and locked her in apartments and stolen her identity to build his fortune. She wanted to scream at him, wanted to hurt him the way he'd hurt her. Instead, she said, I forgive you. Ethan stared at her confused. I forgive you, Lena repeated, because holding on to anger would mean letting you keep a piece of me, and I'm done giving you pieces of myself. You're nothing to me now. Just a mistake I survived. She turned and walked toward the door. Behind her, she heard Ethan shouting, struggling, begging. But his voice faded as she stepped into the hallway, as Victor fell into step beside her, as they left that apartment and that life behind. That was generous, Victor said. Telling him you forgive him. It wasn't generosity, Lena replied. It was freedom, the kind I couldn't have while I still hated him. They walked down the stairs out into the Philadelphia afternoon. The city stretched before them, full of possibility and danger and everything that came with starting over. What happens now? Lena asked. Now, Victor said. You decide what kind of life you want, and I help you build it. Just like that? Just like that. Lena looked at him, this dangerous, complicated man who'd answered a wrong number text and changed everything. What if what I want includes you? She asked quietly. Victor stopped walking, turned to face her. That's a dangerous want. I know, but I'm done playing it safe. Safe almost got me killed. I'm not a good man, Lena. I've told you that. I don't need a good man, Lena said. I need an honest one. Someone who sees me as I actually am and doesn't try to change me into something smaller. Victor studied her face for a long moment. Then slowly, he smiled. A real smile. Not the dangerous one he used for business, but something genuine and almost vulnerable. All right, he said. Let's see where this goes. They walked back to the car together, two broken people who'd found something like hope in the ruins of their respective wars. Behind them, in that apartment, Ethan Calder faced the consequences of his choices. Ahead of them, the future waited, uncertain but theirs to shape. And for the first time in 3 years, Lena Ward felt free. The news broke 3 days later. Lena was having coffee in the safe house kitchen when Iris walked in with her laptop, screen displaying a Philadelphia Inquirer headline, Prominent Attorney, Ethan Calder Found Dead in Apparent Suicide. The article was brief. Calder's body had been discovered in a warehouse near the docks, a single gunshot wound to the head, a note confessing to financial crimes and expressing remorse for his actions. Police were investigating but had found no signs of foul play. Suicide, Lena said quietly, reading the words but not quite believing them. That's the official story, Iris said. Clean, neat, ties everything up without raising uncomfortable questions. Lena set down her coffee cup, her hand suddenly unsteady. She'd known this was coming, had understood that Donovan wouldn't let Ethan simply walk away after stealing from him. But seeing it confirmed in black and white made it real in a way she hadn't prepared for. Are you okay? Victor asked, appearing in the doorway. I don't know, Lena admitted. I thought I'd feel something. Relief, maybe. Or guilt. But I just feel empty. That's normal, Victor said, moving to sit beside her. Death is complicated even when it's someone who hurt you. You don't have to feel any particular way about it. Did Donovan? Yes, Victor said simply. But the details don't matter. What matters is that it's over. Ethan can't hurt you anymore. Can't come back for you or Marcus. That chapter is closed. Lena nodded slowly, trying to absorb that truth. For 3 years, Ethan had been the center of her universe, her captor, her abuser, the axis around which her entire life rotated. And now he was just gone, reduced to a newspaper headline and a brief investigation that would conclude exactly what Donovan wanted it to conclude. The FBI will want to talk to you, Iris said, closing the laptop. They're already looking into Calder's client list, his financial dealings. His suicide note mentioned fraud and embezzlement but didn't name specifics. They'll try to fill in the gaps. What do I tell them? The truth, Victor said, or at least a version of it. You were in an abusive relationship with Ethan Calder. He isolated you, controlled you, and when you tried to leave, he assaulted you. You escaped and sought help. You had no knowledge of his criminal activities or his financial crimes. You're a victim, not a witness. And the money? The accounts in my name? You discovered them after leaving him. You were horrified to learn he'd been using your identity. You immediately transferred the funds to a charitable foundation to distance yourself from his illegal activities. Everything you did was legal and documented. Victor met her eyes. It's the truth, Lena. Not the whole truth, but enough of it. Marcus appeared in the kitchen doorway, having clearly overheard the conversation. So that's it? Ethan's dead and we just move on? That's exactly what we do, Victor said. Moving on is the entire point of everything we've done. Doesn't feel like justice, Marcus muttered. Justice rarely does, Lena said quietly. But it's finished, and that's something. The FBI interview came 2 days later, conducted by 2 agents in dark suits who asked careful questions and took extensive notes. Lena told them her story. The abuse, the escape, the discovery of the accounts. She showed them her medical records from Dr. Reeves documenting her injuries. She explained that she'd transferred the money to a foundation benefiting domestic violence survivors because she wanted something good to come from Ethan's crimes. The agents were sympathetic but thorough, pushing for details about Ethan's associates, his business practices, anything that might help their investigation into the broader criminal network he'd been part of. I was his girlfriend, not his confidant, Lena said. He kept me isolated, kept me in the dark about his work. I didn't know about the money laundering or the Donovan Syndicate until after I left him. The Donovan Syndicate, Agent Morrison repeated, writing the name down. How did you learn about them? From the account documents, Lena said carefully. Some of the shell companies had connections to names I recognized from news articles about organized crime. I put the pieces together. And you weren't afraid, transferring money that belonged to a criminal organization? I was terrified, Lena said honestly, but I was more afraid of being dragged back into Ethan's world. I thought if the money was gone, if it was doing something good, maybe they'd have no reason to come after me. Risky strategy, Agent Morrison observed. Desperate strategy, Lena corrected. I was a woman with broken ribs and nowhere to go. I didn't have the luxury of careful planning. The agents exchanged glances. Agent Chen, the younger of the two, leaned forward. Miss Ward, are you aware that Sean Donovan is currently under federal investigation for racketeering, money laundering, and conspiracy to commit murder? I've seen the news, Lena said. And you wouldn't happen to know anything about Donovan's financial operations? Account numbers, business associates, anything that might assist our investigation? This was the dangerous question, the one where a wrong answer could shatter her protection. No, Lena said firmly. Like I said, I was Ethan's victim, not his partner. I don't know anything about Donovan's operations beyond what I've read in the papers. Agent Morrison studied her for a long moment. Then he closed his notebook. All right, Miss Ward, thank you for your cooperation. We may have follow-up questions as our investigation develops, but for now, you're free to go. Lena left the federal building with Victor waiting outside, his Mercedes idling at the curb. How did it go? He asked as she slid into the passenger seat. They were fishing, trying to see if I knew anything useful about Donovan's organization. I played the traumatized victim who just wanted to be left alone. Good, that's exactly what they needed to hear. Victor pulled into traffic. The syndicate investigation will take months, maybe years. By the time it goes to trial, if it goes to trial, you'll be long gone from this story. Will Donovan actually face charges? Unlikely, Victor admitted. Men like him have layers of protection, but the investigation will weaken him, distract him, keep him too busy to worry about you. That's all we need. They drove in silence for a while, the city passing by outside the windows. Philadelphia looked different to Lena now. Not the prison it had been under Ethan's control, but not quite home either. Somewhere in between, familiar and foreign at once. I've been thinking, she said carefully, about what comes next. And? I can't stay here, in this city, in this life. There are too many ghosts, too many memories. I need to start over somewhere new. Victor nodded slowly. I figured you might feel that way. Where are you thinking? The foundation needs oversight, Lena said. Someone to make sure the money's actually helping people, that the programs are effective, that we're reaching women who need it most. I thought I might do that. Travel to different cities, visit the shelters we're funding, meet the women we're helping. That would put you on the road constantly. No permanent home, no stability. Maybe that's what I need right now. Maybe stability comes later, after I've figured out who I am when I'm not running or hiding. And Marcus? He wants to stay in Philadelphia. It's his home, his band is here, his life. I can't ask him to give that up because I need to leave. Lena turned to look at Victor. But I'd like him to have protection. Just in case. Just to make sure no one from Ethan's world decides to use him as leverage. Already arranged, Victor said. Roman will keep eyes on him, discreet but constant. Marcus won't even know they're there unless he needs them. Thank you. They pulled up to the safe house. Victor turned off the engine, but didn't move to get out. What about us? He asked quietly. What happens to whatever this is between us? Lena had been asking herself the same question for days. What they had wasn't simple or easy or probably even healthy. It was built on trauma and violence and desperate circumstances. But it was also real, more real than anything she'd felt in years. I don't know, she admitted. I care about you, more than I probably should, given everything. But I also need time to figure out who I am outside of relationships that define me. Does that make sense? Perfect sense, Victor said. Take your time. Travel. Help people. Build something that's yours. I'll be here when you're ready to come back. If you're ready to come back. And if I'm not, then I'll have known you for a few intense weeks and been grateful for the experience. He smiled, that genuine smile that was so different from his business face. But I think you'll come back, eventually. People always come back to Philadelphia. It's that kind of city. Is that your way of saying you'll miss me? That's my way of saying I already miss you, and you haven't even left yet. Lena leaned across the console and kissed him. It was soft and careful and full of everything they weren't saying. When she pulled back, Victor's eyes were dark with emotion. I'll come back, she said. Maybe not tomorrow or next month, but eventually. When I found myself. When I'm whole instead of just healing. I'll be waiting, Victor said. Opam. 2 weeks later, Lena stood in the departure terminal at Philadelphia International Airport with a single suitcase and a backpack full of everything she needed to start over. Marcus hugged her tight, being careful of her ribs even though they'd finally healed. You call me, every week. I don't care if you're in Alaska or France or wherever the Foundation sends you. You call. I promise, Lena said. And you stay safe. Listen to Roman's guys if they tell you something's wrong. I still think it's weird having bodyguards I can't see. That's the point. They're protection, not prison guards. You won't even notice them. Iris was there too, having become something like a friend over the past few weeks. She handed Lena a phone. Encrypted, untraceable. All the Foundation's information is loaded, plus contact numbers for everyone you might need. And a few things that aren't strictly legal, but might be useful in emergencies. Like what? Like access to databases that technically require federal authorization, and security protocols that technically constitute hacking, and a few other things I'm not going to mention in an airport. Iris smiled. Just in case you run into trouble and need information fast. Thank you, Lena said, hugging her, for everything. Victor was waiting near the security checkpoint, maintaining distance since airports had cameras everywhere and he preferred not to be photographed with people boarding flights. Last chance to change your mind, he said when Lena approached. Not changing my mind, Lena replied, but I am going to miss you. Good. Miss me enough to come back eventually. Where am I going first? Seattle. There's a women's shelter there that received funding from the Foundation. They're expecting you next week. After that, it's up to you. Portland, San Francisco, Denver, wherever you think you can do the most good. Lena nodded, committing the plan to memory. And you? What will you be doing while I'm gone? running my empire, avoiding federal investigations. The usual. Victor's expression softened. And thinking about you. Wondering if you're safe, hoping you're happy. I'll be both, Lena promised. Or I'll try to be anyway. The boarding announcement for her flight echoed through the terminal. Last call. I should go, Lena said. You should, Victor agreed. But neither of them moved. Finally, Lena stood on her toes and kissed him one more time. Thank you for answering that text. For coming to find me. For everything. Thank you for sending it to the wrong number, Victor replied. Best mistake I ever received. Lena picked up her suitcase and walked toward security. At the checkpoint, she turned back one last time. Victor was still standing there, watching her go, his hands in his pockets, looking more alone than she'd ever seen him. She waved, he nodded, and then she walked through security and into whatever came next. The first shelter Lena visited was in a converted church in Seattle's Capitol Hill neighborhood. The director, a woman named Sarah Chen who'd survived her own abusive marriage, showed Lena around with quiet pride. We can house 20 women at a time, Sarah explained, walking through dormitory-style rooms with bunk beds and donated furniture. We provide temporary housing, legal assistance, job training, counseling. The average stay is 6 months, but we've had women here for a year or more when they needed it. And the foundation's money? Lena asked. How are you using it? We hired 2 more counselors, expanded our legal aid program, and started a childcare service so mothers can attend their job training without worrying about their kids. It's been transformative. Sarah led Lena to a common room where several women sat drinking coffee and talking quietly. One of them, a young woman with a baby on her hip, looked up as they entered. This is Maria, Sarah said. She came to us 4 months ago with her daughter. Her ex-husband was... She trailed off, letting the implication hang. Controlling, Maria filled in. Isolated me from my family, convinced me I couldn't survive without him. Until one day he hit me while I was holding Sophia, and I realized I had to get out or we'd both end up dead. Lena felt something twist in her chest. How are you doing now? Better. I'm in paralegal training, learning skills I can use to support myself. The counseling helps. The other women here help. Knowing I'm not alone helps. Maria shifted the baby to her other hip. Sarah said you're the one who funded the expansion, the new programs. I redirected some money, Lena said. Money that was being used for bad things. Seemed right to use it for good instead. Well, it saved my life, so thank you. Lena spent 3 days in Seattle, meeting women, hearing their stories, learning about the programs the foundation was supporting. Each woman she met was a mirror reflecting some version of what she'd survived. The isolation, the control, the moment of desperate escape. And each woman she met was also a reminder that survival was possible, that life existed on the other side of abuse, messy and complicated, but real. From Seattle, she flew to Portland, then San Francisco, then Denver. She visited shelters and safe houses and legal clinics, meeting directors and counselors and the women they served. She listened to stories that broke her heart and stories that rebuilt it. She learned what worked and what didn't, which programs needed more funding, and which needed better structure. And slowly, over weeks and then months, Lena began to find herself. Not the woman she'd been before Ethan. That version was gone, shaped by years of normalcy that seemed impossibly distant now. And not the broken woman Victor had carried from that apartment, though pieces of her lingered in unexpected moments of fear or doubt. Someone new. Someone stronger and more complicated. Someone who understood darkness but chose light anyway. Someone who'd survived hell and decided to use that survival to help others escape their own hells. She called Marcus every Sunday, hearing about his band's gigs and his new girlfriend and the normalcy of his life that felt both comforting and alien. She texted Iris occasionally, asking for information or advice about programs and logistics. And once a month, she called Victor. Their conversations were never long. Updates on the foundation, brief mentions of what she was doing and where she was going. Victor would tell her about Philadelphia, about the changes in his organization, about the federal investigation into Donovan that was dragging on exactly as predicted. They didn't talk about feelings or futures or what would happen when she eventually came back. Those conversations existed in the spaces between their words, unspoken but understood. 4 months into her travels, Lena found herself in a small town in Montana, visiting a rural shelter that served women across 3 counties. The director, an older woman named Ruth, had requested a meeting to discuss expanding their services. Out here, Ruth explained over coffee in her small office, women can't just disappear into a city. Everyone knows everyone. If a woman leaves her husband, the whole town knows by breakfast. That makes it dangerous. What do you need? Lena asked. Safe houses scattered across the region, small apartments or rental homes where women can stay temporarily without anyone knowing their shelter residence. A network that looks invisible. Ruth pulled out a map marked with potential locations. With the foundation's support, we could help twice as many women, but it requires trust, discretion, and funding. You'll have it, Lena said. Over the next week, she worked with Ruth to build the infrastructure for the rural network. They identified properties, vetted landlords, established protocols for moving women safely. It was complex work that required attention to detail and an understanding of how abusers tracked their victims. It was also deeply satisfying. This was power used correctly, not to control or harm, but to create options for people who had none. One evening, sitting on the porch of the small house she was renting, Lena called Victor. How's Montana? He asked. Cold, beautiful. The people here are doing incredible work with limited resources. And you? How are you doing? Lena thought about the question. I'm good. Really good, actually. I'm building something real, something that matters. I'm helping people. It feels right. I'm glad, Victor said, and she could hear the genuine warmth in his voice. You deserve to feel right. How are things there? Complicated. Donovan's investigation is heating up. The feds are close to bringing charges. Not against him directly, but against enough of his organization that it'll cripple his operations. Is that good for you? Strategically, yes. It opens up territory, opportunities. But it also creates chaos, which means I'm spending a lot of time managing conflicts and consolidating power. He paused. I miss the simplicity of having you here. Everything seemed clearer when you were around. That's because I was a crisis, Lena said. Crises have clear objectives. Real life is messier. Speaking of real life, when are you coming back? It was the first time he'd asked directly. For months, he'd danced around the question, giving her space to figure things out on her own timeline. I don't know, Lena admitted. Part of me wants to keep traveling, keep helping, keep building this network. But another part, she trailed off, unsure how to articulate the growing certainty that she was ready to stop running, ready to plant roots somewhere. Another part wants to come home, Victor finished quietly. Is Philadelphia home? Lena asked. After everything that happened there? Home is wherever you decide it is. But yes, I'd like to think Philadelphia could be home, for both of us. When you're ready. Lena watched the Montana sky turn purple and gold, the mountains' dark silhouettes against the sunset. She thought about all the places she'd been in the past 4 months, all the women she'd met, all the versions of herself she'd tried on like borrowed clothes. I'll be back, she said. Soon. Maybe a month, maybe 6 weeks. I have a few more shelters to visit, a few more programs to evaluate, but then I'm coming back. I'll be here, Victor said. I know you will, Lena replied. That's the part I'm counting on. She returned to Philadelphia on a Tuesday in late spring, 6 months after she'd left. The city smelled like rain and blooming trees, familiar and foreign at once. Lena took a cab from the airport to an address Victor had sent her. Not the safe house, but a brownstone in a quiet neighborhood she didn't recognize. Victor was waiting on the front steps, looking exactly as she remembered. Dark hair, sharp features, expensive clothes. But something in his expression had softened, or maybe she was just seeing him differently now. Welcome home, he said as she approached. Is it home? Lena asked, gesturing to the brownstone. Could be, if you want it to be. Victor stood, led her up the steps. I bought this place 3 months ago. Thought maybe you'd like something that wasn't tied to the criminal empire. Somewhere normal, clean. He unlocked the door and led her inside. The brownstone was beautiful. Hardwood floors, high ceilings, large windows letting in afternoon light. It was furnished but not decorated, like a space waiting for someone to make it theirs. There's a bedroom upstairs, office space if you want to work from home, a kitchen that's actually designed for cooking instead of just heating takeout. Victor watched her take it all in. No pressure. If you want to find your own place, I understand, but I thought I'd offer. It's perfect, Lena said quietly. But Victor, I can't afford. It's yours, free and clear. Consider it back payment for the $40 million you redirected away from my potential acquisition. You weren't going to take that money. No, Victor admitted. But I'm taking the excuse to give you something that might make you stay. Lena walked through the brownstone, touching walls and door frames, imagining what it would be like to actually live here. To have a home that was hers, not Ethan's, not a temporary shelter, not a hotel room in a city she'd leave next week. What changed? She asked, returning to where Victor stood in the living room. You've never offered me anything this permanent before. You changed, Victor said simply. 6 months ago, you needed to figure out who you were, needed space and distance and independence. I gave you that because it was what you needed. But now you're back, and you're not the broken woman I pulled out of that apartment or the traumatized victim trying to find her feet. You're someone who knows exactly who she is and what she wants. That person deserves a home. And what if what I want includes you? Lena asked, echoing the question she'd posed months ago. Then I'm here, Victor said, not as your savior or your protector, though I'll always be both when you need it, but as your partner, your equal, someone who respects the strength it took for you to rebuild yourself. Lena closed the distance between them, took his hands. I'm not fully healed. There are still things that scare me, moments when I spiral, nights when I wake up thinking I'm back in that locked apartment. I know, healing isn't linear, but you're doing it anyway. And you? Are you healing from whatever broke you 17 years ago? Victor was quiet for a moment. I'm trying. You make it easier. Make me want to be something more than just power and control. What do you want to be? I don't know yet, but I'd like to find out, with you, if you'll let me. Lena kissed him then, soft and deliberate, tasting possibility and hope, and the strange grace of finding love in the wreckage of trauma. When they broke apart, she said, Okay, let's try this. The brownstone, the partnership, the future. All of it. All of it, Victor agreed. The foundation grew over the next year into something neither of them had imagined. What had started as a way to redirect stolen money became a national network of shelters, legal clinics, and support programs. Lena traveled less, focusing instead on building infrastructure and training directors. She hired staff, developed protocols, created systems that would outlast any individual's involvement, and she helped women, hundreds of them, then thousands, women fleeing violence, women rebuilding lives, women finding strength they didn't know they had. Marcus became the foundation's unofficial musician in residence, playing benefit concerts and using his growing platform to raise awareness about domestic violence. He'd never expected his band to become an advocacy tool, but he embraced it with characteristic enthusiasm. Iris handled the foundation's digital security, making sure that abusers couldn't track the women seeking help, that donations couldn't be traced back to their origins in Ethan's accounts, that everything remained legally bulletproof. And Victor provided resources, safe houses, legal connections, security when women needed protection from particularly dangerous situations. He never sought credit for it, content to work in the shadows while Lena became the public face of the foundation. They built a life together in that brownstone, messy and complicated and real. They argued about how much risk Victor's involvement brought, about whether she was doing enough to protect herself, about his reluctance to fully leave the criminal world and her reluctance to fully accept what he did when she wasn't looking. But they also laughed together, cooked together, stayed up late talking about everything and nothing. They learned each other's rhythms and wounds and the small kindnesses that made hard days bearable. Lena started therapy, finally unpacking the 3 years with Ethan in a way that didn't involve just surviving. She learned about trauma responses and attachment patterns and the 1,000 small ways abuse rewires your brain. It was painful work, excavating memories she'd rather forget, but it was necessary. Victor never went to therapy, claimed he didn't need it, that he'd processed his trauma by building an empire and destroying his enemies. But Lena noticed subtle changes. He delegated more, trusted his people better, found ways to solve problems that didn't always require violence. The federal investigation into the Donovan syndicate finally culminated in a massive RICO trial. Sean Donovan himself was never charged, His lawyers had built walls of plausible deniability too thick to penetrate, but 15 of his top associates were convicted, including the men who'd handled his money laundering operations. The syndicate collapsed from within, fracturing into smaller organizations that fought over territory and resources. Victor absorbed some of that chaos, expanding his influence while maintaining the careful distance from violence that kept federal attention elsewhere. And through it all, Lena kept working, kept helping women escape the kinds of situations she'd barely survived. Each woman she helped felt like another piece of redemption, another small victory against the darkness that had almost consumed her. On the one-year anniversary of her return to Philadelphia, Victor took her to dinner at the Bellevue Hotel, the same place where they'd met with Donovan, though in a different room with better memories to build. "I have something for you," he said over dessert, pulling out a small box. Lena's heart jumped. "Victor?" "It's not what you think. Open it." Inside the box was a key. Not a house key or a car key, but something older, ornate, clearly antique. "What is this?" Lena asked. "The key to a building I just purchased, downtown near City Hall. I thought it might make a good headquarters for the foundation, somewhere permanent, visible, legitimately yours." Lena stared at the key, feeling tears prick her eyes. "You bought me a building." "I bought us a building, for the work we're doing, the work that matters." Victor reached across the table, took her hand. "I know I'm not a good man, Lena. I know I do things that hurt people, that my empire is built on activities you probably shouldn't know the details about. But this, the foundation, the women we help, the lives we save, this is good. This is something I can be proud of." "You should be proud of yourself too," Lena said. "Not just the foundation. You. Maybe someday. For now, I'm proud of you, of what you've built, of who you've become." Lena looked at this man who'd answered a wrong number text message and changed her entire life, who'd carried her out of hell and given her the tools to build something beautiful from the ashes. "I love you," she said. The words felt enormous, carrying weight she hadn't expected. Victor went still. "You don't have to say that. You don't owe me. I'm not saying it because I owe you. I'm saying it because it's true. I love you, Victor Vale. Even knowing everything I know about you, maybe especially because I know everything. You're not good, but you're honest. And you're mine, if you want to be." "I want to be," Victor said quietly. "I've wanted to be since the night I found you on that floor and realized some broken things are worth saving." "I wasn't broken," Lena said, "just bent. And you helped me straighten out." They left the restaurant hand in hand, walking through Philadelphia's evening streets. The city glittered around them, full of possibility and danger, and everything that came with building a life in the ruins of trauma. 2 years later, the Foundation's new headquarters opened with a ribbon-cutting ceremony attended by politicians and activists and women whose lives had been transformed by the programs Lena had built. Marcus's band played, having achieved minor fame through their advocacy work. Iris gave a speech about digital safety and protecting vulnerable populations. And Lena stood at the podium, looking out at the crowd of people who'd helped make this possible, and told her story. Not all of it. Not the parts about Victor's empire, or Donovan's murder, or the complicated gray areas where justice and revenge blurred together, but enough of it. Enough to help other women understand that survival was possible, that healing was possible, that life existed on the other side of abuse. "I sent a text message to the wrong number," she concluded, "and that mistake saved my life. Not because someone rescued me, but because someone gave me the tools to rescue myself. That's what we're doing here. Giving women tools, options, support, a way out of situations that feel impossible." The applause was thunderous. Afterward, as people mingled and networked and celebrated, Victor found Lena on a quiet balcony overlooking the city. "Good speech," he said. "I left out the interesting parts," Lena replied. "The interesting parts would have gotten us both arrested." He moved to stand beside her. "But I'm proud of you. Of this. Of everything you've built." "We've built," Lena corrected. "This doesn't happen without you." "Maybe. But you're the one who made it matter. Who took $40 million in stolen money and turned it into something that actually saves lives." Victor was quiet for a moment. "My parents would have liked you. Would have been proud of what you're doing." It was the first time he'd mentioned his parents, Beyond that initial explanation of why he'd helped her, Lena reached for his hand. "Tell me about them," she said. "My father was a driver. Nothing special, just guy trying to support his family. My mother was a teacher. She believed in the goodness of people even when they disappointed her." Victor smiled, sad and distant. They were ordinary, kind, the kind of people who help strangers and volunteer at church and believe the system will protect them. And they were wrong. The system failed them, and they died because someone powerful decided their lives didn't matter. "That's why you built this," Lena said. "The empire, the power, so you'd never be powerless again." And it worked. I'm not powerless, but I'm also not happy. Not until... He trailed off. Not until what? Not until I found something worth protecting beyond myself. Someone who reminded me what it felt like to care about something more than power. Victor turned to face her fully. "You gave me purpose beyond just survival, Lena, and I don't know how to thank you for that." "You don't have to thank me. You just have to keep being here, keep helping these women, keep choosing to be something more than what trauma made you." "I can do that," Victor said, "as long as you're here too." "Always," Lena promised. 5 years after that desperate text message changed everything, Lena Ward stood on a beach in Portugal, watching the sun set over the Atlantic. She'd come here to visit a women's shelter the foundation had helped establish, one of dozens now operating across Europe and North America. The trip had been productive. New programs launched, existing ones expanded, lives saved in ways both dramatic and quiet. But she'd also come here because it was beautiful, because she needed the reminder that the world contained more than trauma and violence. That peace was possible. That happiness was real. Victor was back in Philadelphia, managing his empire, handling the endless complications that came with running a criminal organization that was slowly, deliberately going legitimate. It was a long process, turning dirty money clean, building businesses that operated in the light instead of the shadows. But he was doing it, step by careful step, for reasons that included but extended beyond her. Her phone buzzed. A text from Marcus. "Foundation just hit $100 million in total funding. Mom and Dad would be so proud of you." Lena smiled, typing back, "They'd be proud of both of us." Another text, this one from Victor. "Buildings quiet without you. When are you coming home?" She looked at the sunset, at the endless ocean, at the beautiful world she'd almost left behind that night in the locked apartment. Then she typed, "Soon. I'm ready to come home." And she was. Ready for home, for partnership, for a life built on something more than survival. Ready to be not just the woman who'd escaped, but the woman who'd thrived, who'd taken her worst moment and transformed it into purpose. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Lena Ward had been broken, had been invisible, had been dying on a freezing floor with 3% battery and no hope. But a wrong digit had reached the right person. And everything that came after, the pain, the healing, the foundation, the love, the purpose, was what happened when someone chose to answer, when survival became life, when trauma became transformation. She booked her flight home, to Philadelphia, to Victor, to the brownstone and the foundation and the work that mattered, to the life she'd built from the ashes of the one that had tried to kill her. And as the Portuguese sky faded to purple and stars began to emerge, Lena felt something she hadn't felt in years, maybe hadn't felt ever. Peace. Not the absence of pain, but the presence of purpose. Not the erasure of trauma, but the transformation of it into something that helped others survive their own. One wrong digit had reached the only man who would actually come, and that mistake had become the best thing that ever happened to both of them.